After 10 years, millionaire CEO finds single mom asleep. What she hid during that time left him paralyzed. Hello, viewer. Thanks for joining us. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, along with the city you're watching from. Now let's continue with the story. The fluorescent lights in Wayne Adams's corner office cast harsh shadows across the financial reports spread before him. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan glittered like a circuit board, each light representing lives he'd never touch, stories he'd never know. The numbers on his screen blurred together, profit margins, quarterly projections, stock valuations, all meaningless symbols of a success that tasted like ash. "You know what your problem is, Wayne?" David Martinez stood in the doorway, shoulder against the frame, tie loosened and sleeves rolled up. His expression carried the particular blend of concern and frustration that only a friendship spanning 2 decades could produce. Wayne didn't look up from his laptop. "I'm sure you're about to tell me. You're alive, but you're not living." David crossed into the office, dropping into the leather chair across from Wayne's desk. "It's almost midnight. Everyone else went home 5 hours ago. Even the cleaning crew finished and left. Some of us have work to do. Some of us use work to avoid going home to empty houses." David leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Come on, man. It's been 7 years. When are you going to start actually living again?" Wayne's fingers stilled on the keyboard. 7 years, 3 months, and 16 days since Emma died. Not that he counted anymore. Much. "I'm fine, David. Some of us prefer solitude." "That's not true." David's voice softened. "Emma wouldn't have wanted this for you. You know that." The name hung in the air between them like smoke. Wayne closed his laptop with precise control, each movement measured. "Emma's not here to want anything. Now, was there a reason you came up here, or did you just want to play therapist? There's a charity gala next month. Medical research funding. I thought maybe—" "No, Wayne," I said. "No." Wayne stood, gathering files he didn't need, creating motion to fill the silence. "I'll write a check. That's what they really want anyway." David rose too, shaking his head. "One of these days, you're going to wake up and realize you've wasted your whole life hiding in this office. I just hope it's not too late when you do." He left without waiting for a response. Wayne listened to his footsteps fade down the corridor, then the distant chime of the elevator, alone again, the way he preferred it, the way he deserved it. He forced himself to sit back down, to focus on the quarterly review that needed his signature. But David's words gnawed at him, persistent as a splinter. Empty house. 7 years. Not living. The words were still echoing in his head 2 hours later, when he finally shut down his computer and grabbed his suit jacket from the back of his chair. The building stood silent around him, only emergency lighting illuminating the hallways. His footsteps sounded too loud in the emptiness. The drive to his Upper East Side townhouse took 20 minutes at this hour. The streets blessedly clear. Wayne navigated on autopilot, his mind drifting to the presentation he needed to prepare for the board meeting next week, the acquisition deal that needed his attention, the 1,000 small details that filled his days and kept him from thinking about. He cut off the thought before it could form. That was the trick he'd mastered over 7 years. Fill every moment with work, with problems to solve, with anything that didn't require feeling. David called it hiding. Wayne called it survival. The townhouse loomed before him, 5 stories of perfectly maintained brick and limestone that he'd bought 3 years after the divorce. Jennifer had taken the family home in Connecticut, and he'd been grateful. Too many memories lived in those walls, in Emma's bedroom with its princess canopy bed, in the backyard where they'd built snowmen every winter. This place held no memories. That was its primary appeal. Wayne parked in the private garage and took the interior stairs to the main floor. The house should be dark, empty. His housekeeper, Rachel, always left by 8 o'clock. The place spotless and silent, exactly as he preferred. But tonight, light spilled from the living room doorway. His first thought was burglary. His second thought was that burglars probably didn't leave lights on. He moved quietly down the hallway, every nerve suddenly alert in a way they hadn't been in years. Then he saw her. Rachel Cooper was asleep on his leather sofa, her small frame curled into herself like a child seeking warmth. She still wore her work clothes, faded jeans and a plain blue t-shirt that had seen better days. Her chestnut hair had escaped from its usual ponytail, falling across her face. One work-worn hand rested beneath her cheek. Wayne froze in the doorway, cataloguing the wrongness of the scene. In 10 years, Rachel had never stayed late, never left a single thing out of place, never given him reason to think of her as anything more than the efficient, invisible presence who kept his house running. He knew almost nothing about her, he realized with sudden discomfort. She arrived at 6 in the morning and left by 8 in the evening, 6 days a week. She was quiet, competent, and so thoroughly professional that entire weeks could pass with barely a dozen words exchanged between them. He paid her well, provided health insurance, and otherwise never thought about her life beyond his walls. Looking at her now, at the exhaustion evident in every line of her body, at the dark circles beneath her eyes that he'd never noticed before, Wayne felt something crack in the careful armor he'd built around himself. Concern. When was the last time he'd felt concern for another human being? He should wake her, send her home, maintain the careful distance that defined their decade-long relationship. But she looked so deeply asleep, so thoroughly depleted, that he couldn't bring himself to disturb her. Wayne moved to the hall closet, retrieved a soft throw blanket, and returned to the living room. As he unfolded the blanket, preparing to drape it over Rachel's sleeping form, his elbow knocked against her bag, where it sat on the coffee table. The bag tipped. Contents spilled across the polished wood surface. A worn manila envelope landed face up, the edges soft from handling. Papers slid from its open flap. Wayne bent to gather them, intending to tuck everything back neatly, to pretend he'd seen nothing. Then he saw the letterhead, Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. His hands stilled. One of the papers was a medical bill. His eyes caught the amount, $8,247.52, marked Patient Responsibility After Insurance. The date was 3 weeks old. He shouldn't look further. This was private, personal, none of his business. But his gaze had already dropped to the patient name. Sophie Marie Cooper, age 11. And below that, the diagnosis that made his blood turn to ice, Larsen-Chen syndrome. The paper slipped from Wayne's fingers. His vision tunneled, the living room receding until all he could see were those 2 words, Larsen-Chen syndrome. The same 2 words that had shattered his life 7 years ago. No, he whispered, not even aware he'd spoken aloud. His hands shook as he gathered the other papers, more medical bills, spanning years, treatment records, specialist consultations, each one marked with the same diagnosis, the same patient name, Rachel's daughter. Then he found the handwritten budget, Rachel's neat script covering a piece of notebook paper that had been folded and refolded until the creases threatened to tear. Sophie's surgery, $47,000. Insurance covers, $12,000. Need, $35,000. Save so far, $28,000 to $300. Monthly save goal, $800 from salary. Extra from night cleaning, $300. Below that, a longer list. Rent, utilities, groceries, medical supplies, pharmacy co-pays, every dollar accounted for, every expense calculated. The numbers for her own needs, clothing, personal items, anything that wasn't survival were heartbreakingly small. Some months, 0. Wayne sank onto the coffee table, papers clutched in his hands, his entire body gone numb. Night cleaning. Rachel was working a second job. After leaving his house at 8, she was cleaning office buildings for $300 a month to save for her daughter's surgery. And he'd never known, never asked, never saw. The room spun around him. Or maybe he was spinning, falling through time to 7 years ago, to a different doctor's office, a different set of medical bills that his wealth had meant nothing against. "Mr. Adams, Mrs. Adams, I'm afraid the tests confirm our concerns." Dr. Reeves's voice, carefully gentle. "Emma has Larsen-Chen syndrome. It's a rare genetic disorder affecting multiple organ systems. The prognosis is there's no cure. Treatment focuses on managing symptoms and maintaining quality of life." Jennifer's hand crushing his, her sob catching in her throat. "How long? Every case is different. With aggressive treatment, potentially 5 to 8 years. I'm sorry." Emma had lived 18 months. 18 months of hospitals and procedures and false hopes. 18 months of watching his bright, giggling 5-year-old fade into a fragile shadow. 18 months of Jennifer blaming him for working too much, for not being there enough, for choosing board meetings over bedtime stories. She'd been right. He'd failed Emma when she needed him most. Buried himself in work because he couldn't face the helplessness of watching his daughter die. And when it was over, when Emma took her last labored breath with Wayne miles away at a conference he hadn't needed to attend, the guilt had nearly destroyed him. The divorce had come 18 months after the funeral. Jennifer had needed to blame someone, and Wayne had agreed he deserved it. She'd remarried 2 years later, moved to California, started over. He'd built higher walls, worked longer hours, made sure he'd never fail anyone again by the simple expedient of never letting anyone close enough to fail. And all this time, Rachel had been fighting the same battle he'd lost, alone, with a fraction of his resources. For 10 years, Wayne's gaze moved to Rachel's sleeping face. He saw her differently now, saw past the efficient housekeeper to the woman beneath. The mother who worked herself to exhaustion for a daughter with the same disease that had killed his child. The woman who hummed old jazz songs while she cleaned. He'd heard her sometimes, soft and sad, and he'd never wondered why she might need that small comfort. She stirred but didn't wake. Her hand flexed against her cheek, calloused palms visible even in sleep. Hands that worked from 6 in the morning until however late she finished her night-cleaning job. Hands that had scrubbed his floors, organized his life, maintained his perfect empty house while fighting desperately to save her daughter's life. Sophie must be the same age Emma had been when she died. The same age, the same disease, the same impossible odds. The papers trembled in Wayne's grip. Rage and grief and guilt crashed over him in waves, at himself, for his blindness, at the universe for its cruelty, at the disease that stole children and broke parents. But beneath the rage, something else stirred. Something he hadn't felt in 7 years. Purpose. He couldn't save Emma. That chance had died with her. But Sophie was alive, still fighting. And Rachel, God, Rachel had been carrying this weight alone all this time, right under his nose, and he'd never seen her, never really looked. Some people would call it fate, others coincidence. Wayne didn't know what to call it. But he knew, with sudden certainty, that finding Rachel asleep tonight was the most important moment of his life since Emma's death. He moved with careful precision, returning each paper to its envelope. His business mind noted the numbers, calculated the shortfall, formulated solutions. But his heart, that organ he'd thought permanently frozen, cracked open just enough to let in a single burning truth. He would help. Somehow, he would help. Not because it would absolve his guilt over Emma, not because it would fix his failures as a father, but because for the first time in 7 years, something mattered more than his own pain. Wayne stood, moving to retrieve the blanket he'd dropped. He spread it gently over Rachel's sleeping form, tucking it around her shoulders with a care that felt foreign to his hands. She didn't wake, lost in the deep sleep of someone who'd pushed past exhaustion into collapse. He placed the envelope on the coffee table, where she would see it when she woke. Let her know he'd seen. Let her know she didn't have to hide anymore. Wayne stood over her for a long moment, watching the rise and fall of her breathing. In the soft lamplight, he saw the beauty that had been invisible to him for a decade. not the polished beauty of the women in his social circle, all carefully maintained glamour and strategic charm, but something deeper, the beauty of quiet strength, of fierce maternal love, of dignity maintained against impossible odds. "Some angels don't have wings," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "They have warm hands and quiet hearts." Rachel didn't hear him, but the words settled into Wayne's chest like a vow. He left her sleeping and climbed the stairs to his study. The room felt different tonight, as if the air itself had changed composition. Wayne opened his laptop and began to search. Larsen-Chen syndrome treatment protocols, experimental therapies, clinical trials, the best specialists in the country. Dr. Patricia Reeves's name appeared repeatedly. She was the leading expert, affiliated with Columbia Presbyterian. Rachel's papers had mentioned her name. Wayne noted it, already planning. His phone showed 2:47 a.m. He should sleep, should let this wait until morning. But sleep felt impossible, irrelevant. For the first time in 7 years, Wayne Adams felt awake, truly, painfully, beautifully awake. Downstairs, Rachel slept on, unaware that her carefully guarded secret had been discovered. Unaware that the cold, distant employer she'd worked for over a decade had just experienced the first crack in the ice that had frozen his heart. Unaware that everything was about to change. Wayne pulled up his contact list, found Dr. Reeves's office number. He'd call first thing in the morning, pull whatever strings necessary, because he had power and resources and connections. And for once, for the first time since Emma's death, he was going to use them for something that mattered. The papers Rachel had written her budget on sat beside his laptop, that neat handwriting spelling out a mother's desperate calculations. $800 a month from her salary, $300 from night cleaning. How long had she been living like this? How many years of sacrifice had those careful numbers represented? 10 years, he realized. Sophie was 11 now. Rachel had been doing this since before she'd even started working for him. She'd walked into his home a decade ago, smiled politely, asked no favors, and quietly fought a battle that would have destroyed most people, and he'd never seen her. Not once in 10 years had he really looked at the woman who kept his house, who arrived before dawn and stayed until dusk, who asked nothing of him beyond her paycheck and the health insurance he'd thought little of providing. Shame burned in Wayne's throat, but beneath the shame, that unfamiliar feeling grew stronger. Purpose, direction. A reason to get out of bed that had nothing to do with profit margins, and everything to do with a little girl he'd never met and a woman who'd been invisible to him for far too long. The Manhattan skyline glittered beyond his study window, indifferent and eternal. But inside Wayne Adams, something fundamental had shifted. The carefully constructed walls that had protected him from feeling anything were crumbling. And for the first time in 7 years, he wasn't sure he wanted to rebuild them. Downstairs, Rachel shifted in her sleep, pulling the blanket closer. In a few hours, she would wake to find her secrets exposed, her privacy violated. She would be afraid of losing her job, of losing her independence, of being seen as a charity case. Wayne understood. He would have to be careful, would have to prove that this wasn't pity, wasn't some rich man playing savior, would have to earn her trust, show her that he saw her as a person, not a problem to solve, but he would do it. Because Sophie deserved a chance that Emma never got, because Rachel deserved not to fight alone anymore, and because, whether she knew it or not, she'd just given Wayne Adams the greatest gift anyone had offered him in 7 years. A reason to care, a reason to live, a reason to remember what it felt like to be human. Morning light stabbed through Rachel's eyelids, insistent and wrong. She blinked awake, disoriented by the quality of the sunlight, the unfamiliar angle of shadows. Her neck ached. Her body felt heavy, like she'd been running in her sleep. Then reality crashed in. She was on Mr. Adams' sofa in his living room, still wearing yesterday's clothes. Rachel sat up so fast her vision spun. The blanket that had been covering her slipped to her lap. Where had that come from? Her heart hammered against her ribs as she grabbed for her phone. 7:23 a.m. She'd slept here all night, fallen asleep on the job, and stayed until morning like some kind of... Her bag lay open on the coffee table, papers scattered beside it. No, 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 no. The manila envelope sat there, its contents exposed. Her careful budget notes visible. Sophie's medical bills spread out like accusations. Rachel's hands shook as she reached for them, trying to stuff everything back inside, erase the evidence of her private catastrophe. "I made coffee." Rachel's head snapped up. Wayne Adams stood in the doorway, dressed for work in charcoal slacks and a crisp white shirt, tie not yet knotted. He held two mugs, steam rising between them. His expression was unreadable. "Mr. Adams, I'm so sorry." The words tumbled out, breathless and desperate. "I don't know what happened. I must have sat down for just a minute and this has never happened before. I swear, I'll make sure it never..." "How old is Sophie?" The question cut through her panic like a blade. Rachel froze, one hand clutching the envelope, the other braced against the sofa. Her mouth opened, but no sound emerged. Wayne stepped into the room, set both mugs on the coffee table. His movements were controlled, precise, too controlled, like he was holding something dangerous inside himself. "Mr. Adams, that's personal. Larsen-Chen syndrome." His voice remained level, but something flickered in his steel-blue eyes. "She has Larsen-Chen syndrome." Rachel's face drained of color. The room tilted. She backed toward the hallway, protective instinct overriding everything else. "You had no right to look at my things." The envelope fell. "I saw the diagnosis." Wayne's jaw tightened. He lifted one hand, ran it through his hair in a gesture that looked uncharacteristic, almost helpless. "My daughter. Emma had the same condition." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning Rachel couldn't process. She stared at him, really looked at him for the first time in 10 years of working in his house. Saw the pain etched into the lines around his eyes, the grief he wore like a second skin. She whispered. "She died 7 years ago." Wayne's voice cracked on the last word. He turned away, facing the window, shoulders rigid. "She was 5. We fought it for 18 months. Every treatment, every experimental therapy. Nothing worked." Rachel's grip on the envelope loosened. She'd known Mr. Adams was divorced. It was mentioned once in passing by his assistant Maggie, years ago. But she'd never known about a child. Never imagined the cold, distant man she worked for had suffered something so devastating. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I didn't know." "Why would you?" He turned back to her. "I made sure no one knew. Easier that way. No pity, no questions, no reminders." His gaze dropped to the envelope in her hands. "How old is Sophie?" Rachel's throat tightened. 11. "She'll be 12 in March. The same age Emma was when she died." Wayne moved closer, not touching her, but close enough that Rachel could see the barely controlled emotion in his expression. "How long has she been sick?" "Since birth. The diagnosis came when she was 3 months old." Rachel hugged the envelope to her chest like armor. "We've been managing it. She's doing okay." "We're handling it. You're working night shifts, cleaning offices." The words struck like an accusation. Rachel's chin lifted, dignity flooding back. "That's none of your business, Mr. Adams. You're exhausted. You fell asleep on my sofa because you're pushing yourself past human limits." Wayne gestured at the papers. $35,000. "You need $35,000 for surgery, and you're trying to save it $800 at a time." "I said it's none of your business." Rachel's voice sharpened. She gathered the rest of her things, shoving them into her bag with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. "I appreciate your concern, but my daughter and my finances are private matters. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get home and..." I want to help. No, Rachel, it's Ms. Cooper to you, Mr. Adams. She headed for the door, needing distance, needing air, needing to be anywhere but here with this man who suddenly saw too much. And I don't need your help. I've been handling this for 11 years. I don't need some... Let me pay for Sophie's surgery. Rachel stopped in the doorway, back rigid. Absolutely not. I have resources. This is exactly the kind of... I don't accept charity, Mr. Adams. She turned, and the fierce dignity in her face made Wayne take a step back. I'm not a project for you to feel better about. I work for my money. Every dollar in that account is earned. I won't take handouts, no matter how well-intentioned. This isn't charity. Wayne moved toward her, desperate to make her understand. I couldn't save my daughter. Maybe I can help yours. The words landed wrong. Rachel's eyes flashed. With respect, sir, my daughter isn't a replacement for yours, and I'm handling this. I've been handling this her entire life. The comment stung, but Wayne recognized the truth in it. He was conflating his loss with her situation, trying to fix his past through her present. You're right. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. What came out wrong is that you looked at my private papers. Rachel gripped her bag tighter. I need this job, Mr. Adams. I need the health insurance. Sophie's treatments, her medications. Without your insurance, we'd be completely... Her voice broke. She swallowed hard, forced control back. I need you to forget what you saw. I need our arrangement to stay exactly as it's been for 10 years. Professional, separate. None of your concern. I can't do that. You have to... Fear crept into her voice now, raw and real. Please. I can't lose this job. Sophie depends on it. If you're uncomfortable having me here after this, I understand, but please don't fire me. Give me 2 weeks to find something else with comparable insurance. I'll work twice as hard. I'll never mention this again. Rachel, stop. Wayne's voice gentled. He held up both hands. I'm not firing you. That's not what this is about. Then what is it about? She looked at him with exhausted eyes. What do you want from me? What did he want? Wayne wasn't sure he could articulate it. To help, yes. To make Sophie's suffering mean something when Emma's hadn't. To prove he could be there this time. Could make a difference. But beneath all that, something simpler. He wanted not to be alone in his understanding of this particular hell. I want to help because I know what you're facing, he said carefully. I've lived through it. I know how impossible it feels, how every day is a war you're not sure you can win. I know how it feels to be so terrified you can't breathe, but you keep going anyway because your child needs you to. And I know how isolating it is when no one else understands. Rachel's eyes welled. She blinked the tears back, jaw set. That's exactly why I can't accept your money, because it would be about your guilt, your need to fix something that can't be fixed. And my daughter isn't a therapy project. You're right again. Wayne's shoulders sagged. I'm sorry, I'm doing this badly. There's no good way to do it. Rachel moved toward the door again. I appreciate that you understand what Sophie and I are going through, truly, but this has to stay professional. You're my employer, I'm your employee, that's all. What if I researched her condition anyway? Wayne called after her. What if I looked into new treatments, experimental therapies? Would that be crossing a line? Rachel paused at the door, back to him. Her voice came out small, reluctant. I can't stop you from researching whatever you want in your own time. And if I found something that could help her, then you'd tell me, and I'd consider it. But no money, Mr. Adams. No paying for treatments, no clearing medical bills, no charity. Are we clear, Crystal? It wasn't agreement, just acknowledgement. Wayne would figure out another way. There was always another way. Rachel nodded once and left, the door closing softly behind her. Wayne stood in his living room, still holding her coffee mug, steam rising between his fingers. She'd said no, he'd expected that, but she hadn't said he couldn't be involved, hadn't said he couldn't care. It was a thin opening, Barely a crack, but Wayne had built an empire on finding tiny openings and leveraging them into opportunities. He pulled out his phone and dialed Maggie's direct line. "Mr. Adams." His assistant's voice carried surprise. "It's barely 8 o'clock. Is everything all right? I need you to get me a meeting with Dr. Patricia Reeves at Columbia Presbyterian. Today, if possible. The pediatric specialist. Sir, is this for—" "Just set it up, Maggie. Tell her office it's urgent and I'm prepared to fund her research if necessary." A pause. "All right, I'll call them now. And Maggie, keep this quiet. I don't want it getting around the office." "Of course, Mr. Adams." He hung up and immediately dialed David's cell. "Whoever died better be someone important." David's groggy voice answered, "It's 8 in the morning. Rachel's daughter has Larsen-Chen syndrome." Silence. Then David was instantly awake. "What? Your housekeeper Rachel? I found her asleep here last night. She'd collapsed from exhaustion. Papers fell out of her bag, medical bills, treatment records, everything. Sophie is 11 years old and she has the same disease Emma had." "Good Lord," David exhaled. "Wayne, I'm sorry. That must have hit you hard. I offered to pay for her surgery. She refused." "Of course she did. Rachel Cooper has more pride than sense. You know her." Wayne frowned. "I've met her at company events when she's setting up. She's impressive, Wayne. Works harder than anyone I've ever seen. Never complains, never asks for anything." David paused. "How much does she need?" $35,000. She's been trying to save it from her salary plus night cleaning jobs. Working herself into the ground for $800 a month. And she said no to your money. Told me her daughter isn't a replacement for mine." David whistled. "Ouch. But she's not wrong, is she?" Wayne dropped onto the sofa where Rachel had slept. "No, she's not wrong. But David, I can help. I know this disease. I know the doctors. I have the resources. You have the guilt. That too." Wayne pressed his free hand against his eyes. "I couldn't save Emma. I was working when she died. I missed her last hours because I was in a meeting that didn't matter. Maybe if I'd been there more, if I'd pushed harder for different treatments—" "Stop." David's voice turned firm. "We've been over this 1,000 times. Emma's death wasn't your fault. You did everything possible, did I? Because there's a little girl alive right now with the same condition, and I have a chance to do something this time. I have to try. I get that. But Wayne, you need to be honest with yourself. Is this about helping Rachel and Sophie, or is it about easing your own conscience?" The question hit too close. Wayne stood, paced to the window. "Can't it be both?" "It can be. But Rachel deserves to know which one matters more to you." David's tone softened. "Look, I'm not saying don't help. I'm saying be careful. That woman has been fighting alone for 11 years. She's built her whole identity around being strong enough to handle it. If you come in like some white knight trying to save her, you'll destroy the very thing that's kept her going. Then what do? Figure out what she actually needs, not what you think she needs. There's a difference." They talked for another 10 minutes before Wayne hung up and headed upstairs to shower and change. David's words echoed in his head. What she actually needs. What did Rachel need? Money, obviously. But she'd refused that. Medical expertise, information, support, someone who understood. Wayne dressed methodically, mind spinning through possibilities. By 9 o'clock, he was in his car heading to the office. By 9:30, he was in his office ignoring email while researching Larsen-Chen syndrome treatment protocols. Maggie knocked at 10:15. "Dr. Reeves can see you at 2 o'clock this afternoon." "I told her office you were interested in funding research." "Perfect. Thank you, Maggie." His assistant didn't leave. She stood in the doorway, lips pressed together like she was deciding whether to speak. "Something else?" Wayne prompted. "I've worked for you for 15 years, Mr. Adams." I'm aware. And in those 15 years, I've never seen you take a personal interest in anyone or anything outside this company. Maggie came further into the office, closing the door behind her. But this morning, you're researching pediatric genetic disorders and setting up meetings with children's hospital doctors. So forgive me for being direct. But what's going on? Wayne considered deflecting. Maggie would accept it if he told her to mind her own business. But something in her grandmotherly expression made him reconsider. Maggie had known Emma, had sent flowers to the funeral, had never once pushed him to talk about it. Rachel Cooper's daughter is sick, he said simply. Same condition Emma had. Maggie's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, that sweet girl. I met her once, years ago, when Rachel had to bring her to work during a school closure. She was so polite, so brave. Her eyes filled. Mr. Adams, I'm so sorry. This must be bringing everything back. It is. Wayne leaned back in his chair. But mostly it's making me realize I've been blind for 10 years. Rachel has been fighting this battle every single day, and I never saw it. Never asked, never looked at her as anything more than the woman who cleans my house. You're seeing her now. Now might be too late. It's never too late to start paying attention. Maggie moved to the door, paused with her hand on the knob. Rachel's a proud woman, Mr. Adams. Whatever you're planning, tread carefully. She won't accept anything that smells like pity. I'm learning that. After Maggie left, Wayne forced himself to focus on work for a few hours. A conference call with investors, email responses, the endless minutiae of running a multi-billion-dollar company. But his heart wasn't in it. His mind kept drifting to Rachel, to Sophie, to the impossible situation, and his desperate need to fix it. At 1:30, he drove to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. Dr. Patricia Reeves's office was in the pediatric wing, walls painted cheerful colors that couldn't disguise the underlying reality of sick children. Dr. Reeves was a woman in her early 50s with kind eyes and the no-nonsense demeanor of someone who dealt with life and death daily. She shook Wayne's hand and gestured him to a seat. My assistant mentioned you're interested in funding research, she began. I appreciate that, Mr. Adams, but I have to be honest. Larsen-Chen syndrome affects so few patients that most pharmaceutical companies won't invest. The market isn't there. What if I told you market concerns aren't my priority? Dr. Reeves studied him. Then I'd ask what your priority is. My daughter died of Larsen-Chen syndrome 7 years ago. I understand you're one of the leading specialists. Her expression shifted to compassion. I'm very sorry for your loss. What was your daughter's name? Emma Rose Adams. And you want to fund research in her memory? Partly. Wayne leaned forward. But I also understand you have a current patient with the condition. Sophie Cooper, age 11. Recognition flickered across Dr. Reeves's face. I can't discuss my patients, Mr. Adams. I'm not asking you to. Sophie's mother works for me. I found out about Sophie's condition by accident. Rachel has been trying to save money for surgery, and I want to help, but she's refused my money. Wayne spread his hands. So I'm here to learn. What are the current treatment options? What's changed in the last 7 years? What's Sophie's prognosis? Dr. Reeves sat back, fingers steepled. Why do you care so much about a child you've never met? Because I failed my own daughter. Because Rachel has been fighting this alone while working in my house and I never noticed. Because someone needs to care, and I have the resources to make a difference. Wayne met her gaze steadily. And because for the first time in 7 years, I feel something other than emptiness. That has to mean something. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Dr. Reeves nodded slowly. All right, I'll tell you what I can without violating patient confidentiality. She pulled out a folder. Treatment for Larsen-Chen has improved since your daughter's time. We have better symptom management, better understanding of the genetic mechanisms. There's an experimental therapy my research team has been developing, gene therapy targeting the specific mutations that cause the syndrome. Wayne's pulse quickened. How experimental? Very. We're still in early trials, but the preliminary results are promising. Patients who received the therapy show improved organ function, better quality of life. Some are even approaching normal development milestones. Could Sophie be a candidate? Potentially. If her mother consents and if she meets the trial criteria. Dr. Reeves hesitated. The therapy is expensive to produce. We can only take a limited number of patients. And there are risks. What kind of risks? The standard ones for gene therapy. Immune reactions. Unexpected genetic changes. Failure to respond. We've been careful, but it's still cutting-edge medicine. She looked at Wayne directly. If you're serious about funding research, we could expand the trial, take on more patients. But I need to know your motivation, Mr. Adams. Are you doing this for Sophie Cooper, for your daughter's memory, or for yourself? It was the same question David had asked. Wayne considered it honestly. All three. Does that disqualify me? No. Dr. Reeves smiled faintly. It makes you human. Most people who fund medical research have personal stakes. The trick is making sure your personal needs don't override the patient's best interests. They won't. I promise you that. Then let's talk numbers. They spent the next hour discussing research protocols, funding requirements, trial expansion possibilities. Wayne's mind raced, seeing opportunities, making connections. This was what he was good at, seeing systems, finding solutions, making things happen. By the time he left the hospital, he had a plan. Not to pay for Sophie's surgery directly, Rachel had forbidden that, but to fund the research trial that might save her life. And not just her life, other children's lives too. A legacy that honored Emma while helping Sophie. Rachel couldn't object to that. Could she? His phone rang as he reached his car. Maggie's number. Mr. Adams, David Martinez is here. He says it's important. Tell him I'm on my way. 20 minutes later, Wayne walked into his office to find David sprawled in the visitor chair, feet propped on the desk. Make yourself at home, Wayne said dryly. Already did. David grinned, but his eyes were serious. So, how'd it go with the doctor? Wayne described the meeting, the experimental therapy, his funding offer. David listened intently. So let me get this straight, David said when Wayne finished. You're going to fund a medical trial that might help Sophie without technically paying for her treatment directly. That's your workaround for Rachel's no charity rule? Is it a good workaround? It's brilliant. David shook his head, impressed. You get to help Sophie advance medical research in Emma's name, and technically keep your promise not to give Rachel money. She can't argue with that. She'll find a way, probably. David swung his feet down. But Wayne, this is good. This is you at your best. Not the ruthless CEO, not the grief-stricken father. Just a man trying to do right by people who need help. He stood, clapped Wayne on the shoulder. Emma would be proud. The words landed in Wayne's chest, warm and painful. You think so? I know so. She adored you, man. Even when you were working too much, even when you missed bedtime, she adored you. She'd want you to be happy again. She'd want you to use all that brain power and money for good. After David left, Wayne sat at his desk as the sun set over Manhattan. His office felt different, or maybe he felt different, less empty, more purposeful. He pulled out his phone and texted Maggie, "Have my lawyers draw up funding agreements for Dr. Reeves's research. Priority 1. I want it done by end of week." Then he sat back and thought about Rachel, about how to tell her what he'd done without making it sound like charity, about how to prove his intentions were pure, or at least as pure as intentions driven by guilt and grief and unexpected hope could be. He didn't have all the answers yet, but for the first time in 7 years, Wayne Adams was asking the right questions, and that felt like progress. 3 days passed in careful silence. Rachel arrived at Wayne's townhouse each morning at precisely 6 o'clock, worked with her usual efficiency, and left at 8 without a word beyond necessary pleasantries. She'd rebuilt her walls higher and thicker than before. Wayne watched her from a distance, noting the exhaustion she tried to hide, the way her hands trembled when she thought no one was looking. He wanted to ask if Sophie was okay, if Rachel was getting enough sleep, if she needed anything at all. But he'd promised to respect her boundaries, so he focused on what he could control. The funding agreement for Dr. Reeves's research sat on his desk, reviewed by lawyers, ready for signature. The experimental gene therapy trial would expand, taking on 6 new patients. Sophie would be eligible if Rachel consented. Wayne just had to find a way to tell her that didn't sound like charity. On Thursday afternoon, he made his move. Columbia Presbyterian's pediatric wing hummed with controlled chaos, nurses moving efficiently between rooms, doctors consulting in hallways, the occasional crying child. Wayne had called ahead, confirmed that Sophie Cooper had an appointment at 2 o'clock. Dr. Reeves had agreed to meet him at 1:30 to finalize the funding details. Pure coincidence that he'd be in the building when Rachel and Sophie arrived. Pure coincidence that he'd be in the waiting area when they checked in. At least, that's what he'd tell Rachel if she asked. Dr. Reeves's office occupied the top floor, with windows overlooking the Hudson River. She greeted Wayne warmly and spread the funding contracts across her desk. "This is extraordinarily generous, Mr. Adams." She flipped through the pages, eyes widening at the numbers. "With this level of funding, we can fast-track the trial, bring in additional researchers, expand our patient pool significantly. How soon can you start?" "We're ready now. We've been waiting for funding approval to move forward." Dr. Reeves looked up. "I have 6 patients who qualify, including Sophie Cooper. If her mother consents, she could begin treatment within 2 weeks." Wayne's heart kicked. 2 weeks. Sophie could start treatment in 2 weeks. "What do you need from me besides the funding?" "Just your signature." "And Mr. Adams," Dr. Reeves' expression softened, "this is a good thing you're doing. Not just for Sophie, but for all these children. Emma would be proud." The words settled warm in his chest. He signed the papers with a steady hand. "There's one more thing," Wayne said as he handed back the contracts. "I'd like to meet Sophie. Not as a benefactor, just as someone who understands what she's going through. Would that be appropriate?" Dr. Reeves studied him. "That depends on Rachel's comfort level. Sophie has an appointment this afternoon. She'll be in the pediatric waiting area. If you happen to be here, I happen to be here, then I'd say use your best judgment. But Mr. Adams, be genuine. Children can sense dishonesty from a mile away." Wayne took the elevator down to the 3rd floor, palms sweating in a way they hadn't since his first board presentation 20 years ago. He was nervous, terrified, actually. He hadn't been around a child since Emma died, hadn't wanted to be. The pain had been too raw, but Sophie wasn't Emma. She was her own person, fighting her own battle. And if Wayne was going to help, he needed to see her as herself, not as a substitute for his daughter. The pediatric waiting area was painted in cheerful yellows and blues, with murals of animals and rainbows that tried too hard to disguise the underlying sickness. A dozen children sat with parents, some in wheelchairs, others connected to portable IVs. The sight made Wayne's throat tighten. Then he saw her. Sophie Cooper sat near the window in a wheelchair, a book open in her lap. She wore jeans and a purple sweatshirt with a unicorn on it. Her chestnut hair, the same shade as Rachel's, was pulled into 2 braids. An IV line snaked from her left arm to a portable stand beside her chair. But what struck Wayne most was her face. Alert, intelligent eyes scanned the pages of her book. Despite obvious illness, despite the medical equipment, she looked present, engaged with life in a way that Emma had lost in her final months. Wayne moved to a chair across from her, pulled out his phone as if checking messages, gave himself a moment to steady his breathing. Sophie glanced up, caught him looking. Their eyes met. "Are you lost?" she asked. Her voice carried a slight rasp, probably from medication, but the tone was friendly. "This is the kids section. Adults usually wait in the other area." "I'm waiting for someone," Wayne managed. "Me too. I'm waiting for my turn to get poked with needles. It's my favorite." She said it so matter-of-fact that Wayne found himself smiling despite the heaviness in his chest. "What are you waiting for?" Good question. What was he waiting for? Permission to care? Absolution for his failures? A second chance he didn't deserve? "I'm not entirely sure," he admitted. Sophie tilted her head, studying him with disconcerting perception. "That's a weird answer. Most grown-ups lie and say something normal. Would you prefer a normal lie?" "No, I get enough lies. This won't hurt. You'll feel better soon. Everything's going to be fine." She marked her place in the book with one finger. "At least you're honest about not knowing." Wayne's chest ached. This child, this brave girl who saw through adult pretenses, deserved so much better than the hand she'd been dealt. "That's a good book," he said, gesturing to the novel in her lap. The cover showed a moonlit forest. "My daughter loved that series." Sophie's face lit up. "Really? Not many grown-ups know the Moonstone Chronicles. Most adults think they're just kids' books, but they're actually really deep." "Where's your daughter now? Does she have the whole set? I'm only on book 3 because the library waitlist is forever." The innocent question hit like a fist to the stomach. Wayne's breath caught. He'd known this moment would come, had prepared himself for it, but nothing could make it easier. "She passed away," he said quietly. 7 years ago." Sophie's expression transformed, grief and understanding flooding her young face. "Oh, I'm really sorry." "That must hurt a lot. Every day. The honesty came easier than expected, but she taught me about bravery. I think you're brave like she was. Mum says being sick doesn't make you brave." Sophie closed her book, giving Wayne her full attention. "She says choosing to keep smiling when everything hurts, that's what makes you brave." The wisdom struck deep. That was Rachel's voice coming through her daughter, Rachel's strength reflected in Sophie's perspective. Wayne saw the mother in the child, saw how much love and sacrifice had shaped this remarkable girl. "Your mom sounds very wise." "She is. She's the best." Sophie's smile faded slightly. "She works really hard. Sometimes I wish she didn't have to work so hard. She gets tired." "Mr. Adams!" Wayne's head snapped up. Rachel stood 5 feet away, face pale, eyes wide with shock, and something that might have been anger. She clutched her purse like a shield. "What are you doing here?" Her voice came out strangled. Sophie looked between them, confusion creasing her forehead. "Wait, you know Mr. Adams? Mom. He's the nice, sad man I was talking to. Mr. Adams is—" Rachel struggled visibly for words. "He's my employer. You work for him?" Sophie's eyebrows shot up. "That's so weird. What are you doing here?" This last directed at Wayne. "I had a meeting with a colleague," Wayne said, which was technically true. "Dr. Reeves." Recognition flickered in Rachel's eyes. She understood immediately the convenient timing, the chance encounter that wasn't chance at all. Her jaw tightened. "Sophie, I need to speak with Mr. Adams for a moment." Rachel's tone brooked no argument. "Stay here, I'll be right back." "But Mom, he was just telling me about his daughter who—" "Stay here." Rachel grabbed Wayne's arm and pulled him toward the hallway. Her grip was surprisingly strong for such a small woman. Once they were away from listening ears, she rounded on him. "What are you doing?" she hissed. "Following us? Stalking my daughter? Is this some kind of—" "I wanted to meet her." Wayne held up his hands. "That's all. I wanted to see the child I'm trying to help." "Help?" "You're not helping. You're invading our privacy. You're crossing every boundary I set." Rachel's voice shook. Sophie doesn't know who you are or why you're really here. She doesn't know about the medical bills or the surgery or any of it. I keep that from her because she's 11 and she shouldn't have to worry about money on top of everything else. I understand. No, you don't understand. Rachel took a shaking breath. You don't get to just appear in our lives because you feel guilty about your daughter. You don't get to decide you want to play father figure to make yourself feel better. Sophie is my daughter, mine, and I decide who gets access to her. The words cut deep, but Wayne recognized the fear beneath Rachel's anger. She was protecting Sophie the only way she knew how, by keeping control, maintaining boundaries, trusting no one. You're right, he said softly. I overstepped. I'm sorry. Rachel blinked, clearly not expecting capitulation. You're sorry? I'm sorry. I should have asked first. Should have respected that Sophie is your daughter and you get to make decisions about who meets her. Wayne ran a hand through his hair. But Rachel, I just spent 10 minutes talking to her, and she's extraordinary. She's wise and brave, and she sees right through adult nonsense. You've raised an incredible child, despite impossible circumstances. Rachel's eyes welled. Don't try to charm me with compliments about my daughter. I'm not trying to charm you. I'm telling you the truth. Wayne glanced back toward the waiting area where Sophie sat reading again. She knows about my daughter. She asked, and I told her the truth. Is that going to be a problem? I don't know. Maybe. Rachel wiped at her eyes angrily. You can't just barge into our lives, Wayne. It was the first time she'd used his first name. Wayne noticed, filed it away. What if I earned my way in? He asked. What if I proved I'm not here out of guilt or as a replacement project? What if I'm just someone who understands what you're going through and wants to help carry the weight? I know. You don't need help. You've been handling this alone for 11 years. You're capable and strong and fiercely independent. Wayne took a careful step closer. But Sophie just told me she wishes you didn't have to work so hard. She sees how tired you are, and maybe, just maybe, letting someone help isn't weakness. Maybe it's wisdom. Rachel stared at him, emotions warring across her face. Why do you care so much? Because I see you now, really see you, and I can't unsee it. Wayne's voice roughened. Because Sophie reminds me why life matters, because for the first time in 7 years, I feel something other than emptiness. And yes, maybe it's partly about Emma, partly about guilt, partly about needing purpose. But it's also about you and Sophie, deserving better than the hand you've been dealt. A nurse appeared in the hallway. Sophie Cooper, we're ready for you. Rachel's attention snapped to her daughter. I have to go. Let me help, Wayne said quickly. Not with money, with time, with presence. Let me be someone you can talk to who understands. Please, Rachel hesitated, caught between pride and exhaustion, between fear and something that might have been hope. One coffee, she said finally. After Sophie's appointment, we talk. You explain what you're really doing here, what you really want. And then I decide if I trust you enough to let you anywhere near my daughter. Deal. Deal. Rachel hurried back to Sophie. Wayne watched them disappear into the treatment area, his heart hammering. One coffee. One chance to prove himself. He couldn't mess this up. An hour later, he waited in the hospital cafeteria, 2 cups of coffee cooling on the table in front of him. He'd texted Maggie that he'd be late returning to the office. She'd responded with a simple, good luck. Rachel appeared at 2:45, looking drained. Sophie was with her, back in her wheelchair, looking pale but alert. Mr. Wayne. Sophie's face brightened when she saw him. Are you still here? Did you find the person you were waiting for? Wayne's eyes met Rachel's. A silent question passed between them. Rachel sighed. Yes, Sophie. Mr. Adams has been waiting for us. He wanted to talk. About what? Sophie wheeled closer to the table. Can I have hot chocolate? Mum never lets me have hot chocolate because sugar is bad for my condition, but I just got poked 1,000,000 times, so I think I deserve it. One hot chocolate, Rachel agreed, and the fact that she didn't argue told Wayne how difficult the appointment had been. I'll go order it. I'll get it, Wayne offered, standing. What do you want, Rachel? The casual use of her first name made her blink. Just tea. Whatever they have. Wayne went to the counter, ordered hot chocolate with extra marshmallows and a tea. When he returned, Sophie was showing Rachel a sketch she'd made during the appointment. See, this is the dragon that lives in the medicine cabinet. He's actually nice, but everyone thinks he's scary because of his teeth. But he only eats bad germs, not people. The drawing was remarkable, detailed, expressive, capturing personality in just a few lines. Wayne set down the drinks and leaned over to look. You're really talented, he said genuinely. Have you taken art classes? Just at school. And Mom used to draw with me when I was little, before she got too busy working. Sophie took the hot chocolate with reverent care. Mom's actually really good. She was going to go to art school before I happened. Sophie, Rachel's voice held warning. What? It's true. You told me you had to drop out because you got pregnant with me. Sophie sipped her drink, oblivious to her mother's discomfort. I Googled it once. Art school is super expensive. That's why you work so much, right? Because you had to give up art school to have me? Rachel's face flushed. That's not... Sophie, we've talked about this. You were a gift, not a burden. I chose you, and I'd choose you again every single time. I know. But I still feel bad sometimes. Sophie's voice went small. You gave up a lot for me. Wayne watched Rachel's heart break across her face. She reached out, took Sophie's hand. Listen to me. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Art school, drawing, all of that. I can do those things any time, but I only get one you, and you're worth everything. Sophie smiled, but Wayne saw the shadow in her eyes. This child carried guilt she shouldn't have to carry, understanding she was too young to bear. Your mom's right, Wayne said quietly, and for what it's worth, I think she's still an incredible artist. Raising someone like you, that's the greatest art there is. Rachel's eyes snapped to his, surprise and something warmer flickering there. Do you have kids, Mr. Wayne? Sophie asked, besides the daughter who died. Just Emma. She was my only child. What was she like? Wayne felt Rachel's gaze on him, felt the weight of the moment. He could deflect, could change the subject, could maintain his walls. Or he could be honest, be real. Show Sophie and Rachel that he wasn't just some rich man trying to assuage guilt. She was a lot like you, he said. Smart, perceptive, braver than anyone I've ever known. She loved reading, loved animals, loved making people laugh. When she got sick, she worried more about us, her mom and me, than about herself. That's how I feel, Sophie said. I worry about Mom all the time. She tries to hide it, but I know she's scared and tired and stressed about money. Sophie! Rachel's face went pale. What? It's true. I hear you on the phone with Jessica talking about bills. I see you writing in your budget notebook. Sophie turned to Wayne. We're not poor or anything. Mom works really hard and we have enough, but sometimes I wish I wasn't expensive. Rachel made a choke sound. Wayne saw tears streaming down her face, saw her pride and her pain colliding. Excuse me, she managed, and fled toward the bathroom. Sophie watched her go, guilt written across her features. I made her cry. I didn't mean to make her cry. You didn't, Wayne assured her. Your mom loves you so much, and hearing you worry about her breaks her heart. She wants you to be a kid, not worrying about adult problems. But I'm not just a kid, I'm sick, and being sick costs money. I'm not stupid. No, you're definitely not stupid. Wayne pulled his chair closer to Sophie's wheelchair. But your mom is trying to protect you from worrying. That's what parents do. Did you protect Emma from worrying? The question landed hard. Wayne thought about all the times he'd snapped at Jennifer for discussing medical bills in front of Emma, All the times he'd pretended everything was fine when it wasn't. All the ways he'd failed to be present because the pain was too overwhelming. No, he admitted. I didn't. I was too scared and too busy trying to fix things that couldn't be fixed. I missed a lot of time with her because I couldn't handle the fear. And I regret that every single day. Sophie nodded slowly, processing. Is that why you're here? Because you want a second chance with me? The perceptiveness stole his breath. This child, this incredible girl, saw right through him. Partly, Wayne said honestly, but also because I see how hard your mom is fighting for you. And I think she deserves not to fight alone. And I think you deserve every chance that Emma didn't get. Is that okay? Are you going to make Mom cry more? I hope not. I'm trying to help, but I'm not very good at it yet. You seem nice. Sad, but nice. Sophie finished her hot chocolate. If you want to help, maybe you should just ask Mom what she needs instead of trying to guess. Adults are always trying to guess what kids want instead of just asking. Maybe it's the same with moms. Wayne found himself smiling. That's excellent advice. Thank you, Rachel returned, eyes red but composed. She'd rebuilt her walls, but they looked thinner now, more fragile. Ready to go home? She asked Sophie. Can Mr. Wayne come with us? I want to show him my dragon collection. Sophie, Mr. Adams is busy. Actually, I'm not, Wayne interrupted. He looked at Rachel, let her see the plea in his eyes. If it's all right with your mum, I'd love to see your dragon collection. Rachel wavered. He could see her instinct to refuse warring with Sophie's hopeful expression. 1 hour, she said finally. You can visit for 1 hour. Then you leave. Deal. The subway ride to Rachel's apartment in Queens was a revelation. Wayne couldn't remember the last time he'd taken public transportation. They crowded into a car with dozens of other passengers, Sophie chattering about dragons and books and school. Rachel stood close to her daughter's wheelchair, protective and tense. Wayne noticed how people treated them, the commuters who made space for Sophie's wheelchair, the teenager who gave up his seat, the elderly woman who smiled at Sophie and commented on her unicorn sweatshirt. This was Rachel's world, working class, diverse, real, in a way Wayne's Upper East Side bubble wasn't. Rachel's apartment was a 5th-floor walk-up. The building's elevator was broken, a handwritten sign apologizing for the inconvenience. Wayne looked at the steep stairs, then at Sophie's wheelchair. I can walk, Sophie said. It just takes me longer. Or I could carry you, Wayne offered. If that's okay with your mom. Rachel looked torn, but the stairs were daunting, and Sophie was clearly exhausted from the hospital visit. Okay, but be careful. She's fragile. Wayne lifted Sophie as gently as he could. She weighed almost nothing, all sharp angles and delicate bones. The feel of a sick child in his arms nearly broke him. But he focused on the task, climbing steadily, Rachel following with the folded wheelchair. You're strong, Sophie commented. Most adults get tired halfway up. Lots of early morning runs, Wayne managed, though his chest ached with more than exertion. Rachel's apartment was tiny, maybe 600 square feet total. But it was clean, carefully organized, filled with Sophie's artwork and photos. Medical equipment occupied one corner of the living room. Second-hand furniture that had seen better days was arranged with care. Wayne saw Rachel's life laid bare. The sacrifices, the careful budgeting, the love evident in every detail. A jar on the kitchen counter was labeled Sophie's Surgery Fund, with cash and coins visible inside. Sophie wheeled to a bookshelf and pulled out a binder. These are my dragons. I draw them during treatments to distract myself. The binder contained dozens of drawings, each dragon unique and detailed. But what caught Wayne's attention was a sketch tucked into the back, a portrait of Rachel, looking exhausted but determined, with angel wings sketched behind her. Did you draw this? He asked Sophie, pulling it out carefully. Yeah, That's Mom when she thinks I'm sleeping. She looks like an angel, right? Even though she says angels aren't real. Wayne studied the drawing, saw the love and perception that had captured Rachel's essence. Worn hands, quiet heart, invisible wings. It's perfect, he said quietly. Rachel appeared with glasses of water. She saw what he was holding, went still. Sophie draws what she sees. Rachel said, voice tight. I keep telling her she's got too much imagination. I don't think there's any such thing as too much imagination. Wayne handed the drawing to Rachel. I think she sees the truth. Some angels don't have wings. They have worn hands and quiet hearts. The words hung between them. Rachel's eyes welled again. Why are you really here? She whispered. What do you want from us? Wayne looked at her, at this fierce, exhausted, beautiful woman who'd fought alone for so long. Then at Sophie, flipping through her dragon binder with pure joy, despite her illness. I want to be part of something that matters, he said honestly. I want to help carry the weight you've been carrying alone. And I want a second chance to be present, to show up, to not hide behind work and fear. If you'll let me... Rachel stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded, just slightly. Not full acceptance, but not rejection either. An opening. It was enough. 2 weeks passed in a cautious dance of boundaries and breakthroughs. Wayne visited Rachel's apartment 3 times, always at Sophie's invitation, always with Rachel's wary permission. They fell into an unexpected rhythm. Wayne bringing takeout for dinner, Sophie showing him her latest drawings, Rachel watching from a careful distance. Wayne learned that Rachel hummed Billie Holiday when she cooked, that Sophie was reading at a high school level despite missing months of school, that Rachel took her coffee black with 1 sugar, drank it from a chipped mug Sophie had painted in art class, treasured it like crystal. Small things, human things. The details that made them real to him in ways they'd never been when Rachel was just his invisible housekeeper. He was falling, not just into caring, but into something deeper and more dangerous. Every time Rachel smiled at something Sophie said, every time her guard dropped enough to laugh at one of his terrible jokes, every time she looked at him like he might be more than a guilt-driven benefactor, Wayne felt the ice around his heart crack a little more. David noticed. Of course David noticed. You're in love with her, his best friend announced over lunch at a downtown bistro. Don't bother denying it. You've got that look. What look? The look of a man who's been hit by a truck and doesn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. David grinned. It's about time, honestly. 7 years of the Walking Dead routine was getting old. Wayne pushed food around his plate. I'm not in love with her. I barely know her. You know her favorite song is God Bless the Child by Billie Holiday. You know she draws when she can't sleep. You know she takes her tea with honey and lemon when Sophie's having a bad day because it reminds her of her grandmother. David raised an eyebrow. You've learned more about Rachel Cooper in 2 weeks than you learned about anyone in the past 7 years. So yeah, you're in love with her. She thinks I see her as charity work. Do you? Wayne considered the question honestly. At first, maybe, but now I see her as Rachel, as someone extraordinary who deserves better than what life's given her, as someone who makes me want to be better. Then tell her that it's too soon. She doesn't trust me yet. Honestly, I'm not sure she even likes me. She likes you. Why else would she let you into her home, into her daughter's life? David leaned forward. But Wayne, you need to figure out what you want here, because if you're just playing emotional savior, you'll destroy her and Sophie. They've both been through enough. The words haunted Wayne for the rest of the day. What did he want? A relationship with Rachel felt impossible. They lived in different worlds, came from different places, but the thought of going back to his empty townhouse, his empty life, his empty heart, that felt even more impossible. He was still wrestling with the question when his phone rang at 3 in the morning, Rachel's number. His heart stopped. "Wayne." Her voice was raw, broken. Sophie collapsed. "We're at Columbia Presbyterian. I don't know what to do. A sob cut through. "I called you. I don't know why I called you. I'm on my way. 10 minutes. "Hold on, Rachel." Wayne was dressed and in his car in under 2 minutes, breaking every speed limit between the Upper East Side and the hospital. His mind raced through possibilities, all of them terrible. Organ failure, infection, complications from the disease that had killed Emma. Not again, please, not again. He found Rachel in the emergency waiting room, still in her pajamas with a coat thrown over them, hair wild, face streaked with tears. She looked like a ghost of herself. Wayne didn't ask permission, he just pulled her into his arms. Rachel collapsed against him, shaking. She was fine. She was sleeping. Then she woke up screaming about pain in her abdomen. There was blood. So much blood. They took her back immediately, and no one will tell me anything. Shh. I've got you. Wayne held her tight, one hand stroking her hair. "Dr. Reeves is the best. Sophie's in the best hands. I can't lose her." Rachel's voice cracked. "Wayne, I can't lose her. She's everything. She's my whole world. If she dies, she's not going to die. We won't let her." A doctor appeared, mask pulled down, expression grave. "Ms. Cooper, your daughter has a severe infection. Her organs are under significant stress. We need to operate immediately." "Operate." Rachel pulled back from Wayne, swiping at her eyes. "The surgery. The one we've been saving for, not the elective procedure, emergency surgery to address the infection and stabilize her organs. If we don't operate now, she'll go into septic shock." The doctor's voice gentled. "I know this isn't what you planned for. The cost will be significant, but Miss Cooper, this isn't optional. It's life or death." Rachel swayed. Wayne caught her elbow, steadied her. "How much?" she whispered. "The procedure itself will run about $75,000, plus post-operative care, medications, potential ICU stay. Insurance will cover a portion, but your out-of-pocket will likely be $45,000 to $50,000. The number hit like a physical blow. Rachel had saved $28,000. She was $17,000 short, minimum. "Do the surgery," Wayne said immediately. "I'll handle the costs." "No." Rachel's head snapped toward him. "Wayne, no, I can't." "Rachel, there's no time to argue. Let me do this, please." "Miss Cooper, I need your consent, now." The doctor held out a clipboard. Rachel looked at Wayne, at the doctor, at the doors where her daughter lay dying. Her pride warred with her terror, and terror won. "Do it. Save her." She grabbed the clipboard, scrawled her signature with trembling hands, then turned to Wayne. "This doesn't mean..." "It doesn't mean anything except Sophie gets the treatment she needs. We'll figure out the rest later." Wayne squeezed her shoulder. "Go, be with her before they take her back." Rachel ran. Wayne stood alone in the waiting room, his heart hammering. $45,000. For most people, an impossible sum. For him, pocket change. But for Rachel, it would be debt that buried her. He couldn't let that happen. Wayne pulled out his phone, texted Maggie despite the ungodly hour. "Need you to arrange immediate payment for Sophie Cooper's surgery at Columbia Presbyterian. All costs. Don't tell Rachel. Make it look like insurance covered more than expected." Maggie's response came within minutes. "Already on it. Dr. Reeves called me when Sophie was admitted. Everything's arranged." Wayne exhaled. Thank God for efficient assistants who anticipated his needs. Hours crawled past. Wayne bought terrible coffee from vending machines, paced the hallways, checked his phone obsessively. Rachel came out once, eyes hollow, to tell him Sophie was in surgery. Then she disappeared again. At 6 in the morning, David appeared. "Maggie called me," he explained, handing Wayne fresh coffee and a breakfast sandwich. "Figured you could use backup. You didn't have to come." "Yeah, I did." David settled into a plastic chair. How's Rachel? Barely holding together. And how are you? Wayne's laugh came out bitter, terrified, helpless, furious at a universe that keeps doing this to children who don't deserve it. That's a lot of feeling for someone who's not in love. Don't. Wayne rubbed his face. Not now. When? Then. When is the right time to admit you care about her? After Sophie recovers. After Rachel finally trusts you. When, Wayne? I don't know. The words came out louder than intended. An elderly couple across the waiting room looked over. Wayne lowered his voice. I don't know what I feel. Every time I think it's about Emma, about guilt, about fixing my past, then Rachel smiles and I forget how to breathe. Then Sophie says something wise and brave and my chest aches. And I don't know if what I feel is real or just desperation to feel anything at all. David studied him. You know what I think. I think you're terrified that what you feel is real. Because if it's real, you can lose it, and you've lost enough. The truth of it settled heavy in Wayne's chest. His phone rang. Jennifer. His ex-wife hadn't called in over a year. I need to take this. Wayne stepped into the hallway. Jennifer! Wayne! Her voice was warm, concerned. I heard through mutual friends that you've been spending time with a sick child. Is that true? Of course the gossip had reached California. Wayne's re-emergence into anything resembling a social life would have been noticed. It's true. My housekeeper's daughter has Larsen-Chen syndrome. Silence. Then Jennifer's sharp intake of breath. Oh God. Wayne, the same disease that killed Emma. Yes. Are you okay? This must be bringing everything back. It is. Wayne leaned against the wall. But Jennifer, this child is alive. She's fighting. And I can help this time. I can actually make a difference. By paying her medical bills, among other things. Another pause. Wayne, I'm worried about you. Are you trying to replace Emma? Because no child can replace her. You know that, right? I'm not trying to replace her, though wasn't he a little? Wasn't that part of this desperate need to save Sophie? Sophie is her own person, remarkable in her own right. I'm not confusing them. What about the mother, Rachel? Jennifer's tone shifted. Are you involved with her? No. Maybe. I don't know. Wayne closed his eyes. It's complicated. It always is with you. But Jennifer's voice held affection, not judgment. Listen to me. Emma's death wasn't your fault. You know I blamed you for a long time, for working too much, for not being there, for all of it. But therapy helped me see the truth. You loved Emma. You did everything you could, and she loved you back. Tears burned Wayne's throat. I wasn't there when she died. No, you weren't, and that will always hurt. But Wayne, she knew you loved her. She knew. Jennifer's voice cracked. And she would want you to be happy. She would want you to live, to love again, to not spend your whole life punishing yourself. How do I do that? How do I move on when... By showing up, by being present, by not making the same mistakes. Jennifer paused. If this little girl survives, if you have a chance to be part of her life, don't waste it. And if you care about her mother, don't hide from it. Emma would want you happy, Wayne. Please, let yourself be happy. I don't know if I remember how. Then find someone who reminds you. Jennifer's smile came through in her voice. Call me after the surgery. Let me know she's okay. And Wayne, I'm proud of you. For trying, for showing up, for not letting fear win. They hung up. Wayne stood in the hallway, Jennifer's words echoing in his head. Let yourself be happy. Don't make the same mistakes. Show up. He could do that. He would do that. Wayne returned to the waiting room to find Rachel emerging from the surgical wing. She looked destroyed, hair tangled, face pale, eyes red-rimmed. She's out of surgery. Dr. Reeves says it went well. She's in recovery. Rachel's voice was mechanical, shock setting in. They got the infection, fixed the damage. She'll be in ICU for a few days, but she should be okay. Thank God. Wayne moved toward her but stopped, unsure if his touch would be welcome. Rachel swayed. Wayne caught her, guided her to a chair. David discreetly disappeared to get water. I can't feel anything, Rachel whispered. I should be relieved. I should be crying or laughing or something. But I'm just numb. It's shock. Your body protecting you from the terror. Wayne crouched in front of her chair, taking her hands. They were ice cold. You did it, Rachel. You made the impossible decision. You saved her. I let you pay for it. Her eyes filled. I broke my own rule. I let you. You put Sophie first. That's not breaking a rule. That's being a mother. I don't know how I'll pay you back. It'll take years, decades, maybe. But I will. I'll work extra shifts. Rachel, stop. Wayne squeezed her hands. We'll figure it out. But right now, just be grateful she's alive. The rest is details. Rachel pulled her hands away. It's not details. It's my integrity. It's my ability to say I did this myself, that I didn't need... Her voice broke. That I wasn't a charity case. You're not a charity case. You're a woman in an impossible situation who needed help. There's no shame in that. You don't understand. You've never been poor. You've never had to choose between dignity and survival. Rachel stood abruptly. I need to see Sophie. She left before Wayne could respond. He stayed in the chair, her words cutting deep. David returned with water. Rough. She hates that I helped, hates needing me. Give her time. She almost lost her daughter. People say things when they're terrified. But Rachel's words felt like more than terror. They felt like truth, a reminder of the chasm between their worlds, between his privilege and her struggle. Wayne's phone buzzed. A text from Victoria Ashford. Heard you were at the hospital all night with your housekeeper. People are talking. Wayne, just thought you should know. He stared at the message, anger simmering. Of course people were talking. Of course his re-emergence into the world would be noticed and judged. He ignored the text. Hours passed. Rachel stayed with Sophie in ICU. Wayne remained in the waiting area, refusing to leave, despite having no official relationship that would grant him visiting privileges. David brought him lunch, then dinner. Maggie texted updates she'd gotten from Dr. Reeves. At 8 in the evening, Rachel finally appeared. She looked more composed, but exhaustion radiated from every line of her body. She's awake, asking for me. Rachel's voice was flat. She asked if you were still here. I am. Why? You don't owe us anything. You paid the bills. You can go home now. The word stung. Is that what you want? For me to leave? Rachel's mask cracked. I don't know what I want. I'm confused and scared and so tired I can barely think. You've been wonderful. Too wonderful. And I don't understand why. Is this really about Sophie? Or is this about me? Or is this just about you needing to fix something that can't be fixed? It's all of it. Wayne stood, moved closer. It's about Sophie deserving a chance. It's about you deserving not to fight alone. And yes, it's about me needing purpose again, needing to feel something besides emptiness. Is that so wrong? I don't know. Maybe. Rachel wrapped her arms around herself. What happens when Sophie gets better, when you've satisfied whatever need you're trying to fill? Do you just disappear back to your world and leave us to figure out the mess you've created? What mess? Sophie adores you. She talks about you constantly. You're becoming her father figure, and that terrifies me, because what if you decide this is too hard? What if you get bored or realize we're not worth the trouble? I can survive being hurt. But if Sophie loses you after she's already lost so much... Rachel's voice broke. Wayne understood then. This wasn't about money or charity. It was about trust, about Rachel's terror that he'd abandon them once the novelty wore off. I'm not leaving, he said firmly. I'm not going anywhere, Rachel, not until you tell me to go. You say that now. But you don't know what you're promising. Sophie will have bad days, relapses, more surgeries, more crises. This doesn't end, and eventually you'll realize your life was simpler before us. My life was emptier before you, and I don't want to go back to empty." Wayne took her hand, felt her tremble. "I'm not asking you to trust me completely. Just trust me enough to stick around. Let me prove I mean what I say." Rachel looked at their joined hands, then at his face. "What if I let you in and you break my heart? What if you don't and you miss something real?" The question hung between them. Rachel's eyes searched his, looking for lies, for hidden motives, for anything that would justify keeping her walls intact. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her, because she nodded slowly. "Okay, you can visit Sophie, but Wayne, if you're going to be part of our lives, you have to be all in. No halfway, no backup plans. Sophie doesn't need another person who leaves. I'm all in, completely, terrifyingly, all in." A ghost of a smile touched Rachel's lips. "Then come meet your daughter. She's been asking for you." The words hit Wayne's chest like a fist. Your daughter. He wasn't Sophie's father, would never be Emma's father again, but maybe, if he was lucky enough, if he proved himself worthy enough, he could be someone who mattered to this brave little girl. They walked to ICU together. Rachel's hand stayed in his, a fragile bridge between their worlds. Sophie lay in the hospital bed, small and pale but alert. Monitors beeped around her. IV lines snaked from her arms. But when she saw Wayne, her face lit up. "Mr. Wayne, Mum said you've been waiting all day." "Of course I was waiting. Had to make sure you were okay. The surgery hurt a lot, but the nurses gave me ice cream after." Sophie's smile was weak but genuine. "Did you know Mom called you in the middle of the night? She called you instead of Jessica." Rachel flushed. "Sophie, what? It's true. You said his name first, even before 911. Sophie looked between them with knowing eyes far too old for her age. "Are you guys gonna date? Because I think you should date. You look at each other weird." "Sophie." Rachel's face went scarlet. Wayne found himself laughing despite everything. "What kind of weird? Like you want to hold hands, but you're scared to—" Sophie yawned. "Jessica says grown-ups make everything complicated. She's right. We should let you rest." Rachel bent to kiss Sophie's forehead. "I'll be right outside if you need anything." "Mr. Wayne." Sophie's voice was drowsy. "Thanks for staying. Most people don't stay." The simple gratitude undid him. Wayne had to clear his throat before answering. "I'm not most people. And I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise." Sophie's eyes drifted closed. Within minutes, she was asleep. Rachel stood watching her daughter, one hand resting on the bedrail. "She's right, you know," Rachel said softly, "about the way we look at each other, about things being complicated. Does it have to be complicated?" "Yes, because you're you and I'm me, and the distance between those two things is," she gestured helplessly, "meaningless if we don't let it matter." Wayne moved to stand beside her. "Rachel, I'm not going to pretend I understand what your life has been like, but I know what loneliness feels like. And I know that standing here with you, watching Sophie sleep, I feel more alive than I have in 7 years." Rachel turned to face him. In the dim ICU lighting, she looked vulnerable and fierce all at once. "What are we doing, Wayne? I think we're falling. Question is whether we catch each other or let fear win. I'm terrified. Me too." He touched her face gently. "But I'm also hopeful. For the first time in forever, I'm hopeful." Rachel leaned into his touch, just slightly. One step at a time. One step at a time. It wasn't a declaration, wasn't even an agreement, really, but it was movement forward. And for now, that was enough. Sophie's recovery took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of Wayne showing up every day, bringing breakfast, staying through lunch, reading to Sophie when Rachel dozed in the uncomfortable visitor chair. 3 weeks of nurses assuming he was Sophie's father, of doctors directing medical updates to both him and Rachel, of slowly becoming a unit. Rachel stopped correcting people when they called them a family. Wayne noticed, filed it away as progress. as hope. On a Thursday afternoon, when Sophie was finally discharged, Wayne helped carry her things to Rachel's apartment. The building elevator was still broken. He climbed those 5 flights without complaint, Sophie laughing in his arms about how she was getting spoiled by all this princess treatment. Rachel followed behind, quieter than usual. Wayne caught her watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read, something between gratitude and terror, between warmth and walls going back up. Once Sophie was settled on the sofa with her dragon binder and a stack of new library books David had dropped off, Rachel made tea. Wayne found her in the tiny kitchen, staring out the window at the Queen's skyline. "She's going to be okay," he said softly. "I know." Dr. Reeves was clear. The surgery worked. "The new treatment protocol is helping." Rachel's hands wrapped around her mug. "I should be celebrating, should be relieved, but all I feel is exhausted and terrified about the bills," and she cut herself off. "Rachel, the bills are handled. I told you, I know what you told me, but I still don't know how to accept it." She finally looked at him. "You've been here every day for 3 weeks. Your company must be suffering. Your life must be on hold. When do you go back to being Wayne Adams, CEO? When do we stop being your charity project?" The words stung because they came from her fear, not from malice. Wayne understood that now. Every time Rachel pushed him away, it was because she was terrified of needing him. "I am Wayne Adams, CEO. That hasn't changed. What's changed is what I care about." He moved closer, gave her space to retreat if she needed it. She didn't. "Maggie handles my schedule. David handles the board meetings I miss. The company is fine, better than fine, actually. Turns out when the CEO is passionate about something, people respond. Passionate about what? Medical technology that saves children like Sophie, like Emma." Wayne pulled out his phone, showed her the news article Maggie had sent that morning. Adams Technology Solutions announced a breakthrough in Larsen-Chen syndrome treatment. "We're funding Dr. Reeves's research. Expanding the clinical trial." Rachel's eyes widened as she scanned the article. "You did this for Sophie. For Sophie. For Emma's memory. For all the kids fighting this disease." Wayne pocketed his phone. "And before you say it, yes, Sophie will benefit. She's enrolled in the expanded trial, but so are 5 other children whose families can't afford traditional treatment." "Wayne, that's incredible." Rachel's voice cracked. "Thank you for all of it. For showing up, for caring, for—" She stopped, overcome. Wayne wanted to pull her close, to kiss away the tears threatening to fall. But he held back. Rachel had to come to him, had to choose this. "Mom," Sophie called from the living room. "Can Mr. Wayne stay for dinner, please? I want to show him my new drawings." Rachel wiped her eyes quickly. "If he wants to stay, I always want to stay." Dinner was spaghetti from a box and sauce from a jar, but Wayne couldn't remember a meal tasting better. Sophie chatted about her hospital roommate, about the nice nurse who brought her extra pudding, about how she wanted to be a doctor when she grew up so she could help other sick kids. After dinner, while Rachel washed dishes, Sophie pulled Wayne aside. "I need to show you something. But you have to promise not to tell Mom." Wayne's eyebrows rose. "If it's not dangerous or harmful, I promise." Sophie wheeled to her small bedroom and pulled a cardboard box from under her bed. Inside were sketchbooks, dozens of them, old and worn. "These are Mom's, from before I was born. She doesn't know I kept them." Sophie opened one carefully. "Look." Wayne found himself staring at stunning charcoal drawings, landscapes, portraits, still lifes. The skill was undeniable. Raw talent refined by training. Before life had interrupted, she was going to the School of Visual Arts. She had a scholarship and everything. Sophie flipped through pages. "But then she got pregnant with me and had to drop out. She never finished." Wayne's chest ached. Rachel had sacrificed her dreams, her education, her talent, all for the daughter she loved. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked quietly. "Because Mom thinks she gave up everything for me, and she did. But I hate that she never got to finish." Sophie looked up at him with those two wise eyes. "You have money, right? Like a lot of money." "Yes." "Could you do something to help Mom get back to art? Not as charity, as like an opportunity." Sophie's expression turned fierce. "She deserves to have her dreams too, not just to work and worry and take care of me." Wayne's mind raced. An idea formed, perfect and whole. "Sophie, you're brilliant. Can I borrow one of these sketchbooks? Only if you promise to give it back and promise to do something that makes Mom happy." "I promise both." That night, Wayne drove home with Rachel's sketchbook on his passenger seat. He didn't sleep. Instead, he called David, then Maggie, laying out his plan. By morning, everything was in motion. Friday morning, Wayne sat in his office with David and Maggie, Rachel's sketchbook open on his desk. "This is good," David said, studying the drawings. "Really good. Professional quality." "She had a scholarship to the School of Visual Arts," Wayne explained, "had to drop out when she got pregnant." Maggie touched one of the portraits gently. "That's heartbreaking. Such talent wasted." "Not wasted, just delayed." Wayne leaned forward. "I want to establish a scholarship program, the Emma Adams Memorial Art Fund, for single parents pursuing creative careers, full tuition, plus living stipend. Rachel will be the first recipient." "That's perfect," Maggie breathed. "Mr. Adams, that's absolutely perfect. But she'll refuse if she thinks it's charity designed just for her." Wayne looked at David. "So we need to make it real. A legitimate program with multiple recipients, clear criteria, public application process. Rachel just happens to qualify." David grinned. "You devious genius. I love it. Can we move fast? I want this established and announced within a week." "I'll call the lawyers." Maggie was already typing on her phone. "We can have the foundation paperwork done by Monday. The School of Visual Arts will need to approve the partnership, but given your donation history, whatever it takes, make it happen." By Tuesday, the Emma Adams Memorial Art Fund was officially established. By Wednesday, the School of Visual Arts had agreed to partner, adding their institutional credibility. By Thursday, applications were open online. Sophie had submitted Rachel's application with scans of her mother's artwork on Tuesday night, using Rachel's email address while she was in the shower. Wayne felt only slightly guilty about the deception. Rachel deserved this. And sometimes, people who spent their lives caring for others needed someone to care for them. Friday afternoon, Wayne called Rachel with a simple request. Could she come to his office? He needed to discuss something about Sophie's treatment plan. She arrived at 2 o'clock, dressed in her nicest outfit, a simple blue dress that Wayne suspected was second-hand, but that made her eyes shine like warm honey. She looked nervous, out of place in the gleaming Adams Technology Solutions lobby. Maggie greeted her warmly, offered coffee, led her to Wayne's corner office. David was already there, sitting in one of the visitor chairs. "Rachel, thank you for coming." Wayne stood, gestured to the empty chair beside David. "Please, sit. Is something wrong with Sophie?" Rachel perched on the edge of the seat, tense. "Dr. Reeves said the trial was going well. Sophie's fine. Perfect, actually." Wayne came around his desk, leaned against it. More casual, less intimidating. "This is about something else. David and I wanted to share something with you." "Okay." Rachel glanced between them, clearly confused. Wayne pulled out a folder, opened it to show the official documents. 3 months ago, I lost my daughter to Larsen-Chen syndrome. It destroyed me, made me question everything about my life, my choices, my purpose." Rachel's expression softened. "Wayne, let me finish." He smiled to soften the words. "Meeting you and Sophie reminded me why I started this company. Not for profit, for purpose. To use technology to save lives. So I've established something in Emma's memory. He handed Rachel the folder. She opened it slowly, reading the first page. Her eyes widened. The Emma Adams Memorial Art Fund, Wayne explained. A scholarship program for single parents pursuing creative degrees. Full tuition plus living expenses for the duration of their studies. Upon completion, recipients can choose to work as instructors in the program, helping other parents. Wayne, this is wonderful. Rachel's hands trembled. Emma would be so proud. There's more. Wayne nodded to David. The program launched this week, David said. We've already received over 40 applications. The selection committee reviewed them all. And Rachel, you've been chosen as the first recipient. Rachel's head snapped up. What? I didn't apply. Sophie applied on your behalf. Wayne pulled out the sketchbook. Rachel's face went white. She showed me your work. Rachel, you're extraordinarily talented. The committee agreed unanimously. No? Rachel stood abruptly. I can't accept this. This is too much. This is an opportunity, Maggie said gently from the doorway. Mrs. Cooper, this program is real, legally established, properly funded, open to qualified applicants. You qualify on merit. But it's Wayne's money, Wayne's company. Rachel looked at him, eyes bright with unshed tears. This is still charity, just dressed up differently. It's not charity. You earned this. Your talent earned this. Wayne moved closer. Rachel, you gave up your dreams for Sophie. You sacrificed your education, your career, your art. I'm not giving you a handout. I'm giving you back what you lost. I can't. Rachel's voice broke. She clutched the sketchbook to her chest. I don't deserve this. I'm just a housekeeper who... You're not just anything. Wayne cut her off, voice fierce. You're a mother who's fought impossible odds for 11 years, an artist with genuine talent, a woman who deserves to have her own dreams, not just to facilitate everyone else's. Please don't turn this down because you're afraid to accept something good. Rachel stared at him, tears streaming freely now. This is your money, your foundation. Even if other people benefit, this is still about me, about Sophie, about... She gestured helplessly. About you deserving to be happy, Wayne finished. Yes, exactly. Is that so terrible? Mom? Everyone turned. Sophie sat in the office doorway in her wheelchair, Jessica standing behind her looking apologetic. Sorry, Jessica said. She insisted on coming. Maggie let us up. Sophie, what are you doing here? Rachel swiped at her eyes. Making sure you don't do something stupid. Sophie wheeled into the office. Mr. Wayne set up an art scholarship in his daughter's name. You got chosen. This is good news, Mom. Why are you crying? Because it's complicated, sweetheart. No, it's not. Sophie's voice turned firm, channeling Rachel's own no-nonsense tone. You gave up everything for me. Your education, your art, your whole life. You work yourself to death making sure I have what I need. For once, someone is trying to give something back to you. Why won't you take it? Sophie, do you think I don't know how much you sacrificed? Sophie's eyes welled. You were going to be an artist. Instead, you clean houses and work night shifts so I can have medicine. I know that, Mom. I've always known that, and it kills me. Rachel dropped to her knees in front of Sophie's wheelchair. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. Art school, drawing, none of that matters compared to you, but it does matter. Sophie took her mother's hands. You deserve to be happy, not just to survive. Mr. Wayne is trying to help you be happy. Please let him. Rachel looked at her daughter, then at Wayne, then at the folder containing her chance to reclaim her dreams. The war between pride and hope played across her face. If I accept this, she said slowly, I pay it forward. Other parents, other artists. This has to be real, not just about me. It is real, Wayne promised. The foundation is established. Other recipients will follow. You're first, but not the only. And Rachel, when you graduate, you can teach. You can mentor others the way you were supposed to be mentored. That's how you pay it back. Rachel looked at David, at Maggie, at Jessica. All of them nodded encouragement. Finally, she turned to Sophie. Are you sure? It means schedule changes. Me being in school, studying, less time with you, and I'm sure. Sophie squeezed her mother's hands. I want you to be more than my mom. I want you to be you. Rachel's face crumpled. She pulled Sophie into a tight hug. Wayne watched, his chest aching with emotion he couldn't name. When Rachel finally composed herself, she stood and faced Wayne. Okay, I accept, but I'm contributing to the scholarship fund once I'm working as an instructor. Other parents need this too. Deal. Wayne extended his hand. Rachel shook it, her grip firm despite the tears still wet on her cheeks. Thank you, she whispered, for seeing me, for believing in me, for... She couldn't finish. No thanks needed. You've already given me more than you know. Maggie produced enrollment papers. They'd prepared everything in advance. Rachel signed with shaking hands, officially becoming the first Emma Adams Memorial Art Fund scholar. Classes would start in the fall, giving her time to transition Sophie back to stable health. After everyone else left, Rachel and Wayne stood alone in his office. The Manhattan skyline glowed behind him, golden hour light painting everything warm. I don't know how to do this, Rachel admitted, how to accept help, how to let someone care without feeling like I'm giving up my independence. You don't have to do anything except be yourself. The rest we'll figure out together. Wayne stepped closer. If you'll let me be part of it, part of your life. Officially, not just as the guy who pays bills. Rachel looked up at him. What are you asking? I'm asking if there's a chance. A real chance. For us. Wayne's heart hammered. I know it's complicated. I know we're from different worlds. But Rachel, when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be alive. You and Sophie, you've given me purpose again, hope again. And I think, he took a breath, I think I'm falling in love with you. Rachel's breath caught. Wayne, you don't have to say it back. Not yet. Just tell me if there's a possibility. If I have permission to keep showing up, to keep caring, to keep hoping that maybe one day you'll... I already do. Wayne froze. Already do what? Love you. I think I already love you. Rachel's voice shook. It terrifies me. Because I've spent 11 years building walls, convincing myself I don't need anyone, and then you appeared and saw me, really saw me, for the first time in forever, and those walls started crumbling. And I don't know how to do this, Wayne. Don't know how to let someone in without losing myself. Then we learned together. Wayne cupped her face with both hands, thumbs brushing away fresh tears. I don't have all the answers either. But I know that walking away from this, from you, would be the biggest mistake of my life. What if we mess it up? What if Sophie gets hurt? What if... Wayne silenced her fears with his lips. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, testing, tasting. Rachel made a small sound in her throat and leaned into him. Wayne pulled her closer, one hand sliding to the small of her back, the other tangling in her hair. 7 years of loneliness dissolved. 10 years of invisibility vanished. They were just Wayne and Rachel, two broken people who'd found something whole in each other. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. Rachel's hands fisted in Wayne's shirt, holding on like she might fall without the anchor. That was... She started, "Everything!" Wayne finished. Rachel laughed, the sound watery but genuine. I was going to say terrifying and perfect, but everything works too. Stay tonight. Just to talk, just to be together without walls or fears or, I can't, Sophie needs me. Jessica can only stay until 6. Tomorrow then, have dinner with me. A real date. Let me take you somewhere beautiful. I don't have anything to wear to fancy restaurants. Then we'll go somewhere you feel comfortable. Wayne kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips again because he couldn't help himself. I don't care about fancy. I care about you. You're going to make me cry again, Rachel warned. I'll bring tissues next time. She smiled, and Wayne felt the warmth of it spread through his entire body. This woman, this fierce, beautiful, impossibly strong woman, was giving him a chance. A real chance. I should go. Sophie will worry, but Rachel didn't move, didn't let go of his shirt. Before you go. Wayne reached for something on his desk. The phrase he'd whispered that first night, the words that had started everything, he'd had Maggie print them, frame them. I said this the night I found you sleeping on my sofa. I meant it then. I mean it even more now. He handed her the frame. Rachel read the words engraved on simple silver. Some angels don't have wings. They have warm hands and quiet hearts. Her eyes filled again. Wayne. You're my angel, Rachel. You saved me. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of that gift. Rachel kissed him again, fierce and desperate and full of promise. When she pulled back, her smile was radiant. Take us home, she asked. You can carry Sophie down to the car. She'll love that. And maybe you can stay for dinner, real dinner in our home, as part of our lives, officially. I'd like nothing more. They collected Sophie and Jessica, who both pretended they hadn't been eavesdropping. Sophie's grin was triumphant. I told you they'd figure it out, she announced to Jessica. Grown-ups just need time to stop being dumb. Sophie Marie Cooper, Rachel warned. But she was laughing. What? It's true. You two have been making moon eyes at each other for weeks. Wayne drove them home in his car, Rachel in the passenger seat, Sophie and Jessica in the back. It felt right, natural, like this was how things were meant to be. At Rachel's building, Wayne carried Sophie up the 5 flights. Rachel followed with her wheelchair. Jessica begged off dinner with a knowing smile, leaving them alone. Over Chinese takeout and Sophie's chatter about starting 7th grade soon, Wayne felt something settle in his chest. Peace, contentment, home. This was home, not his empty townhouse with its museum perfection. This cramped apartment with its second-hand furniture and walls covered in Sophie's drawings. This was where his heart lived now. After dinner, Sophie presented Wayne with a new drawing, the 3 of them together, holding hands, smiling. She titled it Family. Wayne's eyes burned. Can I keep this? It's yours, like we're yours. Sophie yawned, exhausted from the day's excitement. You're gonna be my dad, right? Officially? Wayne looked at Rachel. She nodded, giving permission. If you'll have me, I'd be honored. Good. I need a dad for the father-daughter dance at school next year. Sophie's eyes were already closing. And for teaching me to drive someday, and for walking me down the aisle when I get married, and for... She fell asleep mid-sentence. Rachel covered her daughter with a blanket, kissed her forehead. Thank you for everything, for Sophie's treatment, for the scholarship, for showing up when I'd convinced myself I didn't need anyone. Thank you for letting me in, for giving me a reason to live again. Wayne pulled her close. I love you, Rachel Cooper. I'm in love with you, completely, terrifyingly, wonderfully in love with you. I love you too, even though you're stubborn and used to getting your way and probably going to drive me crazy. Probably, but I'll make it worth your while. Rachel laughed against his chest. Promise? I promise. Wayne tilted her face up for another kiss, slower this time, deeper. A promise of everything to come. Some angels don't have wings. They have worn hands and quiet hearts. You're my angel, Rachel, now and always, and you're my second chance at happiness. Don't mess it up. Never. They stood in her tiny living room, wrapped in each other, while Sophie slept peacefully nearby. Outside, Queens hummed with city life. Inside, a family was being born. Not perfect, not easy, but real, and worth fighting for. The first official date was a disaster in the most endearing way possible. Wayne had planned everything. Reservations at Per Se, a car service, even arranged for Jessica to stay with Sophie overnight. He'd wanted to impress Rachel, to show her the beauty of his world. Rachel had other plans. "I can't," she said when he arrived at her apartment in a tailored suit. She wore jeans and a sweater, clearly not dressed for fine dining. "Wayne, I appreciate the thought, but I can't go to a place where the menu doesn't have prices. I'll be terrified the whole time about ordering wrong or using the wrong fork or—" "You won't order wrong. There's no wrong way. For you. There's no wrong way for you." Rachel touched his arm. "But for someone who clips grocery coupons and buys day-old bread, walking into a place that charges $200 for dinner feels like walking on Mars." Wayne deflated. He'd messed up already, trying too hard to impress when he should have been thinking about Rachel's comfort. "Okay, you're right. Where do you want to go?" "There's a taco truck 3 blocks from here. Best tacos in Queens. Then we could walk along the waterfront." Rachel's smile was tentative. "Is that too boring for you?" "It's perfect." So Wayne Adams, billionaire CEO, ate street tacos sitting on a bench overlooking the East River, and it was, in fact, perfect. "This is better than per se?" Rachel asked, amused, as Wayne demolished his 3rd taco. "So much better. When's the last time you saw someone in a suit eating street food with this much enthusiasm?" "Never. You're getting salsa on your tie." Wayne looked down at the silk tie that cost more than Rachel's monthly grocery budget. Worth it. They walked along the waterfront as the sun set, painting the Manhattan skyline in shades of amber and rose. Rachel told him about Sophie's improvement, how she'd gone 3 days without pain medication, how her energy was returning, how Dr. Reeves was thrilled with the trial results. "She wants to go back to school full-time in September," Rachel said. "I'm terrified and excited in equal measure. That's huge. Normal 7th grade life. As normal as it gets for a kid who spent half her life in hospitals." Rachel leaned against the railing. "Thank you for the treatment. For everything. I know I'm supposed to stop thanking you, but then stop." Wayne turned her to face him. "This is us now, partners. You don't thank your partner for caring about your daughter." "Partners." Rachel tested the word. "I like that. Good, because I plan to use it a lot." Wayne kissed her, tasting lime and cilantro and promise. "Now, for our next date, I pick the place." "Deal. As long as there are prices on the menu." "I'll check first." Their second date was miniature golf. Their third was a cooking class where they burned everything. Their fourth was the planetarium, where Sophie joined them and gave a detailed lecture on constellations that impressed even the museum staff. They were building something, slowly, carefully, but undeniably real. 3 weeks into their official relationship, Wayne was summoned to a charity gala. Black tie, major donors, the kind of event he'd avoided for years. But Adams Technology Solutions was receiving an award for medical innovation, and his presence was required. "Come with me," he asked Rachel over dinner at her apartment. Rachel's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "To a gala." "Wayne, I don't have anything to wear to something like that." "Then let me buy you a dress. This is my world, and its expectations. I can't change that. I don't want you buying me clothes." "It's not buying you clothes. It's professional attire for accompanying me to a work event." Wayne reached across the table, took her hand. "Rachel, I want you there. I want to walk into that room with you on my arm and show everyone that I'm the luckiest man alive. Please." Rachel wavered. Sophie, who was drawing at the other end of the table, chimed in without looking up. "Go, Mom. Be Cinderella for one night. I'll stay with Jessica. She promised to teach me poker." "Sophie." "What? I'm kidding. We're going to make cookies and watch movies." Sophie finally looked up, grinning. "But seriously, Mom, go be fancy with Mr. Wayne. You deserve to feel like a princess sometimes." Which was how Rachel found herself in Bergdorf Goodman the next day, with Wayne and a personal shopper selecting a gown. She'd protested every step, but Wayne had been insistent. And when she finally emerged from the dressing room in a deep emerald dress that made her eyes glow, even Rachel had to admit the effect was stunning. "I look like someone else," she whispered, staring at her reflection. "You look like yourself," Wayne corrected, "just dressed differently. You're beautiful in jeans, and you're beautiful in couture." "The clothes don't make you, Rachel." The night of the gala, Wayne picked her up in a car service. Sophie insisted on taking photos like a proud mother at prom. "You two look like movie stars," she declared. "Now go have fun and don't worry about me." In the car, Rachel was silent, hands twisting in her lap. Wayne covered them with his own. "You're going to be fine. Just be yourself." "Your world scares me," she admitted. "All those people who were born into money, who understand the rules I'll never know. What if I embarrass you?" "Impossible. You could never embarrass me." Wayne lifted her hand, kissed her knuckles. "And Rachel, half those people are incredibly boring. You're real. That makes you more interesting than anyone else in that room." The Plaza Hotel ballroom glittered with crystal and candlelight. Women dripped diamonds. Men wore tuxedos that cost more than cars. Rachel felt a wave of panic as they entered. Then Wayne's hand found the small of her back, steady and warm, and she breathed. "Stay close," he murmured. "We're in this together." The evening started well. David and his wife Maya greeted Rachel warmly, pulling her into easy conversation. Maggie appeared with a glass of champagne and a wink. Dr. Reeves was there, representing Columbia Presbyterian, and she hugged Rachel like an old friend. "Sophie's progress is remarkable," Dr. Reeves said. "You should be very proud." "I am, thanks to you, and Wayne's funding." "A team effort," Dr. Reeves smiled. "You have a good man there, Rachel. Don't let him go." But not everyone was welcoming. Victoria Ashford appeared near the bar, resplendent in designer black, diamonds at her throat. She looked Rachel up and down with barely concealed disdain. "Wayne, darling, and this must be your housekeeper." The word landed like a slap. Rachel's spine stiffened. "This is Rachel Cooper, my girlfriend." Wayne's voice went cold. "Rachel, Victoria Ashford. She's on the board. Girlfriend. How progressive of you." Victoria's smile was sharp. "I suppose hiring from within has its advantages. Convenient, at least." "Victoria." Wayne's tone carried warning. But Rachel stepped forward, meeting Victoria's gaze. "You're right. It is convenient. I know where he keeps his coffee, how he likes his towels folded, whether he's a morning person. That's what happens when you actually pay attention to someone for 10 years, instead of seeing them as invisible help." Victoria's eyebrows rose. She has spirit. How charming. She has intelligence, dignity, and more class than half this room combined." Wayne moved to stand beside Rachel, presenting a united front. "And I'd appreciate you treating her with the respect she deserves. Of course. I meant no offense." But Victoria's expression suggested otherwise. She drifted away to cluster with other board members. Rachel released a shaking breath. "Did I just make an enemy?" "You just made me incredibly proud." Wayne squeezed her hand. "You stood your ground, didn't let her diminish you." "I wanted to punch her. That would have been satisfying but problematic." Wayne grinned. "Come on, let's get food. The catering here is actually decent." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of introductions and small talk. Some people were kind. Others viewed Rachel with curiosity or thinly veiled judgment. But Wayne never left her side, never let her face the scrutiny alone. During the awards presentation, when Adams Technology Solutions received recognition for medical innovation, Wayne pulled Rachel on stage with him. "This award recognizes breakthrough treatment for Larsen-Chen syndrome," he said into the microphone. "A disease that took my daughter 7 years ago and threatens children every day. But this research exists because of one person's courage. Rachel Cooper, a single mother, has fought this disease for 11 years with nothing but determination and love. She reminded me what truly matters. This award is as much hers as mine." The applause was thunderous. Rachel stood frozen, overwhelmed. Wayne kissed her cheek, whispered, "You deserve this recognition. Accept it." After the ceremony, dozens of people approached Rachel. Parents of sick children, doctors, researchers. They thanked her for inspiring the research, asked about Sophie, shared their own stories. Rachel transformed from uncomfortable outsider to compassionate listener, offering hope to people who desperately needed it. Wayne watched her shine, his chest tight with pride and love. On the car ride home, Rachel leaned against his shoulder. "That was terrifying and wonderful and overwhelming. You were perfect. Everyone loved you." Not Victoria. Victoria is miserable and takes it out on people she perceives as threats. You, with your genuine warmth and lack of pretension, terrify her. Wayne kissed the top of Rachel's head. "Don't give her another thought." "Your world is exhausting," Rachel sighed. "But I survived it. That counts for something. It counts for everything. And next time, we'll balance it out. Something in your world." That something came 2 weeks later. A block party in Rachel's Queens neighborhood. Annual tradition. Everyone contributed food. Kids played in the street. Music blared from portable speakers. Wayne showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, determined to fit into Rachel's world as she'd fit into his. The neighborhood greeted him with curiosity and caution. Rich boyfriend of Rachel's, the one who'd helped with Sophie's medical bills. They'd heard stories, weren't sure what to make of this stranger in their tight-knit community. Jessica introduced him around. "This is Wayne. He's good people. Anyone who treats Rachel and Sophie right is family here." Wayne helped set up food tables, joined a basketball game with teenagers who played rough, ate Mrs. Chen's homemade dumplings until he thought he'd burst. He listened to Mr. Rodriguez's stories about working construction for 40 years, helped carry groceries for Mrs. Johnson, who lived on the 4th floor of Rachel's building. By evening, the neighborhood had adopted him. Kids used him as a jungle gym. Adults included him in conversations about community issues, asking his opinion on school funding and local business development. Rachel watched from a folding chair, Sophie beside her in her wheelchair. Her daughter looked stronger every day, more color in her cheeks, more energy in her movements. "He's really trying," Sophie observed. "Look at him playing with those kids. He's terrible at basketball." "Awful," Rachel agreed, laughing as Wayne missed another shot. But he's having fun. That's what matters." "You're happy, Mom, like really happy. I haven't seen you like this since ever, maybe." Rachel looked at her daughter. "I am happy. It scares me how happy I am." "Why? Happy is good. Because I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for him to realize we're too much work. Rachel stopped, not wanting to burden Sophie with her fears. But Sophie was wise beyond her years. "Mr. Wayne's not going anywhere, Mom. He looks at you like you're his whole world, and he looks at me like I'm actually his kid. That's not fake. I can tell. When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just notice more now that I'm not dying." Sophie said it matter-of-factor, without drama. "Besides, I like having a dad, even if he can't play basketball." Wayne appeared then, sweaty and grinning. "Your neighborhood plays dirty. I may have injuries." "You're out of shape," Rachel teased. "Excuse me, I run every morning. Running and defending against a 14-year-old point guard are different skills." Rachel stood, kissed him despite his sweat. "But you were wonderful. Thank you for doing this." "Doing what?" "Having fun, playing with kids, eating the best dumplings of my life." Wayne pulled her close. "This is what I want, Rachel, not just the fancy galas. This, real life, community, family. Even when it's messy and loud and nothing like your usual world, especially then." As summer faded into fall, Rachel started classes at the School of Visual Arts. Wayne drove her to campus the first day, carrying her supplies like a proud parent. "You're going to be amazing," he said at the entrance. "I'm 34 years old, going back to school with 19-year-olds. I'm going to be the old lady in every class. You're going to be the talented, experienced, life-smart student who makes everyone else better." Wayne kissed her. "Call me if you need anything. I'll be exactly one phone call away." Rachel's first day was overwhelming. Younger classmates, unfamiliar technology, art theory she'd forgotten. But when her professor reviewed her portfolio, the woman's eyes widened. This is exceptional work. Raw talent, refined by genuine skill. "You should have been here years ago. Life got in the way," Rachel said simply. "Well, you're here now. Let's make up for lost time." That evening, Wayne picked up Sophie from school, a routine they'd established. They stopped for ice cream, talked about Sophie's day, headed home together. When Rachel arrived 2 hours later, exhausted but exhilarated, she found them cooking dinner together, or trying to. There was flour everywhere. "We're making pancakes," Sophie announced. "For dinner." "Breakfast for dinner is acceptable," Wayne defended. "Besides, Sophie wanted pancakes, and I never learned to say no to her." Rachel laughed, dropped her bag, joined them in the kitchen. They cooked together, the three of them, making a mess and not caring. This was family, imperfect, unconventional, but undeniably real. Later, after Sophie went to bed, Wayne and Rachel sat on her tiny balcony overlooking the street. "I got promoted today," Wayne said casually. "Well, not promoted exactly. The board wants me to transition from CEO to chairman, focus more on innovation and development, less on daily operations. Is that what you want? It's what I need. The company's thriving. David can handle the CEO role, and I want more time for what actually matters." He took her hand. Sophie, this life we're building. Wayne Adams, choosing family over work, never thought I'd see the day. Neither did I. But Rachel, I spent 7 years hiding in work because I was too afraid to live. You changed that. Sophie changed that. Wayne turned to face her. "I'm not saying I won't work. The company is still important, but it's not everything anymore. You are..." Rachel's eyes filled. "I love you. I don't say it enough, but I love you so much it terrifies me." "Then say it more. I'll never get tired of hearing it." "I love you." Rachel kissed him. "I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you too. And Sophie. And this ridiculous tiny balcony, and your impossible building with no working elevator." Wayne pulled her onto his lap. "I want to talk about the future. About us. Where this is going." Rachel's heart jumped. "Okay. Where is it going? I want you and Sophie to move in with me. Not now, when you're ready, but Rachel, I want to wake up with you every morning. Want to be there for Sophie's good days and bad days. Want to be a real family, not just dating. Wayne, your place is huge and fancy and empty without you. We can make it feel like home. Keep this apartment if it makes you feel secure. But I want to fall asleep with you every night and wake up with you every morning." He cupped her face. "When you're ready, no pressure, just something to think about." Rachel thought about it, about walking into his beautiful townhouse and actually living there, not just cleaning it, about Sophie having her own room, about stability and security and a future she'd never let herself imagine. "I need to finish this semester first, and Sophie needs to be fully stable." "But Wayne," she smiled, "ask me again at Christmas. I think my answer will be yes." Wayne's grin was brilliant. "Christmas. I can wait until Christmas." "Good. Because I need time to wrap my head around moving from a 5th-floor walk-up to a townhouse. We'll make it work. Together, that's what partners do." They sat on the balcony until late, talking about futures and possibilities. Inside, Sophie slept peacefully, her health improving daily. On the street below, life continued its usual rhythm. And somewhere between the street tacos and the charity galas, between the block parties and the art classes, between the basketball games and the quiet balcony conversations, Wayne and Rachel built something neither had thought possible, a second chance at happiness, a family forged from heartbreak, a love that proved some angels really do walk among us. They just have warm hands and quiet hearts. 2 years changed everything. Sophie turned 13, healthy and thriving. The experimental treatment had worked beyond anyone's expectations. She was off most medications, back in school full-time, even joined the art club. Dr. Reeves called her a miracle case, a testament to cutting-edge medicine and a mother's unwavering love. Rachel was 2 months from graduating with her degree in fine arts. Her work had been featured in student exhibitions, praised by professors, even sold to private collectors. The scared woman who'd cleaned Wayne's house for 10 years had transformed into a confident artist who understood her own worth. Wayne had stepped back from daily CEO operations, focusing on medical research and innovation. He still worked, still attended board meetings, but his life wasn't defined by the office anymore. It was defined by family dinners and Sophie's school plays, and falling asleep next to Rachel every night in the townhouse they now all shared. They'd moved in together 6 months ago, after Rachel's first year of school. Sophie had her own room, decorated with her dragon drawings and Harry Potter posters. Rachel had a studio in what used to be a formal sitting room. Wayne's house had become a home. But there was one thing left to make it official. Wayne had been planning the proposal for 3 months, with Sophie as his enthusiastic co-conspirator. They'd had secret meetings over ice cream, whispered conversations when Rachel was in class, carefully concealed shopping trips for the perfect ring. Sophie had opinions, strong opinions. It can't be too flashy, she'd insisted during one planning session in Wayne's office. Mom hates flashy. Remember when you tried to buy her that diamond bracelet and she made you return it? I remember. Wayne smiled at the memory. Rachel had been furious, calling it excessive. They'd compromised on a simple silver bracelet instead. So something meaningful but not ostentatious. Exactly. And it should be somewhere that matters, not just some random restaurant or whatever. Sophie had pulled out her phone, showed Wayne the calendar. Mom's graduation show is in 6 weeks. She's displaying her thesis work. Everyone we know will be there. You think I should propose at her art show? I think you should propose surrounded by her art, by the thing she thought she'd never get back, by proof that dreams can come true even when you think they're dead. Sophie had looked at him with those wise eyes. That would mean something to her. Wayne had agreed. It was perfect. The ring had taken 2 weeks to design. Nothing flashy. A simple platinum band with a single emerald, Rachel's favorite stone, surrounded by tiny diamonds. Elegant, understated, uniquely her. Inside, he'd had engraved, "Some angels don't have wings." Now, graduation day had arrived. Wayne stood in the crowd at the School of Visual Arts auditorium, watching Rachel cross the stage in her cap and gown. Sophie sat beside him, practically vibrating with excitement about the proposal planned for that evening. "She has no idea," Sophie whispered. "I've been so good at keeping secrets. You've been perfect." Wayne squeezed her hand. Pride swelled in his chest as Rachel accepted her diploma, smiled for the camera, waved at them in the audience. After the ceremony, they took pictures, Wayne, Rachel, and Sophie, Rachel with her professors, Rachel with her classmates who'd become friends. Jessica appeared with flowers. David and Maya brought champagne. Maggie hugged Rachel like a proud mother. "I'm so proud of you," Wayne said, pulling Rachel close. "You did it. 4 years of work. You did it." "We did it," Rachel corrected. "I couldn't have done this without you. Without your support, your patience, your willingness to handle dinner on nights I had to finish projects. I burned dinner most of those nights, but you tried. That's what matters." Rachel kissed him, not caring about the crowd around them. I love you. I love you too. Now your thesis show starts at 6. We have 3 hours. Want to grab lunch? Actually, I need to get to the gallery early. Help set up. Rachel checked her phone. Can you and Sophie meet me there at 6? Absolutely. We'll be there. Rachel left with her professors. Wayne and Sophie looked at each other. Time to set up, Sophie said. We have work to do. The next 3 hours were a flurry of coordinated chaos. Wayne called in favors, pulled strings, made things happen with the efficiency that had made him a successful CEO. By 5:30, everything was in place. At 6 o'clock, the gallery filled with people, art students, professors, collectors, Rachel's classmates. Wayne had made sure certain people received special invitations. Everyone from Rachel's Queens neighborhood, Sophie's doctors, Rachel's art professors, people from Wayne's company who'd gotten to know Rachel over the past 2 years. 2 worlds merging in one space. Rachel's work occupied the main gallery, a series of mixed media pieces exploring themes of motherhood, sacrifice, resilience, and hope. The centerpiece was a large canvas titled Worn Hands, Quiet Hearts, showing a woman cradling a child, both figures rendered in beautiful detail, surrounded by abstract elements representing struggle and triumph. Wayne stood before it, struck silent by the power of her vision. This was Rachel's journey, her heart exposed through art, and it was breathtaking. It's good, right? Sophie wheeled up beside him. She was stronger now, used the wheelchair less, but today she'd needed it after a long morning. She worked on that one for 6 months. It's about us, about her and me. It's incredible. She's incredible. And you're going to marry her tonight. Sophie grinned. Are you nervous? Terrified? Good. That means it matters. Sophie pulled a small box from her bag. I have something for you. For Mom, actually. But you should give it to her. Inside was a delicate silver chain with a small pendant, a tiny pair of angel wings. I made it in metalworking class, Sophie explained, because you always say she's an angel, even though she's not really. She's just Mom. But I thought she'd like it. Wayne's throat tightened. She'll love it. We'll give it to her after I propose, and hopefully she says yes. She'll say yes. She'd be stupid not to, and Mom's not stupid. At 6:30, the gallery director made opening remarks. Rachel was asked to speak about her work. She stood before the crowd, visibly nervous but radiating confidence that hadn't existed 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I thought my art days were over. I'd put my dreams aside to focus on survival, on being a mother, on keeping my daughter alive. Rachel's voice steadied. Then someone reminded me that dreams don't die. They just wait. And sometimes, if you're incredibly lucky, someone comes along who helps you resurrect them. Her eyes found Wayne in the crowd. This work represents my journey, from invisible to seen, from surviving to thriving, from alone to loved. Every piece tells part of that story. Thank you all for being here to witness it. Applause filled the gallery. People moved through the exhibition, studying each piece, discussing technique and emotion and meaning. Wayne waited, letting Rachel enjoy her moment, letting the crowd thin slightly. At 7:30, he caught the gallery director's attention. She nodded, understanding. They'd coordinated this part carefully. Excuse me, everyone, the director announced. We have one more presentation this evening. Wayne Adams would like to say a few words. Rachel's head snapped up, confused. This wasn't part of the program. Wayne moved to stand before her centerpiece, the painting that captured everything Rachel had been and become. Sophie wheeled to his side, partner in this conspiracy. Thank you. Wayne addressed the crowd, though his eyes stayed on Rachel. I'm not an artist. I don't have Rachel's gift for turning pain into beauty. But I do know something about transformation. Rachel's hand went to her mouth, realization dawning. 3 years ago, I was a man who'd forgotten how to live. I'd lost my daughter to the same disease threatening Rachel's child. I'd closed myself off, convinced I didn't deserve happiness, didn't deserve love. Then one night, I found someone sleeping on my sofa, someone who'd been invisible to me for 10 years, and everything changed. Tears streamed down Rachel's face. Sophie was crying too, and half the audience looked misty-eyed. Rachel Cooper, you saved my life. You showed me that courage looks like worn hands working tirelessly, that strength sounds like a mother humming while she cleans, that angels walk among us with quiet hearts and fierce love. Wayne pulled the ring box from his pocket, opened it. The emerald caught the gallery lights. You've given me a family again, purpose again, a reason to wake up every morning grateful to be alive. He dropped to one knee, gasps echoed through the gallery. I want to spend the rest of my life honoring you, supporting you, loving you. I want to officially be Sophie's father. I want to build a future where every day is an adventure and every night is coming home to you. Wayne's voice cracked with emotion. Rachel Marie Cooper, will you marry me? The gallery fell silent. Rachel stood frozen, tears flowing freely, one hand still covering her mouth. Sophie wheeled forward, pulled on her mother's sleeve. Mom, he's asking you a question. You have to answer. Rachel laughed through her tears, dropped to her knees so she was level with Wayne. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes, I'll marry you. Wayne slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. Sophie had stolen another of Rachel's rings months ago to ensure the size was right. Then he pulled Rachel into his arms and kissed her as the gallery erupted in applause and cheers. When they finally broke apart, Sophie threw her arms around both of them. Finally, I thought you'd never ask. She pulled back, grinning. Can I be maid of honor? I've been planning this for months. You knew? Rachel looked between Wayne and her daughter. Known for 3 months. We've been planning everything. Sophie was triumphant. I helped pick the ring, and Mr. Wayne, I mean Dad, has the whole wedding already planned. Sophie! Wayne laughed. We were going to tell her slowly. Oops, sorry, I'm bad at secrets, except I was really good at this secret until literally right now. Rachel laughed, crying, kissed Wayne again, hugged Sophie. People crowded around, Jessica sobbing happy tears, David clapping Wayne on the back, Maggie dabbing her eyes with a tissue, Rachel's professors offering congratulations. Mrs. Chen from Rachel's old building pushed through the crowd with a container. I brought dumplings. For celebration, I knew something special was happening tonight. How did you know? Rachel asked. Wayne sent special invitations, said to come for big news. Mrs. Chen beamed. So happy for you. You deserve good man. He deserves good woman. Perfect match. The impromptu engagement party took over the gallery. Someone had arranged for catering. Wayne's doing, Rachel realized. Champagne appeared. Music started playing. What had been an art exhibition became a celebration of love and second chances. David gave the first toast, raising his glass with a wide grin. 3 years ago, I told my best friend he was alive but not living, that he'd become a ghost hiding behind work. David looked at Wayne. I never thought I'd see him come back to life. But Rachel, you performed a miracle. You reminded him what matters. You gave him family, purpose, joy. Watching you two fall in love has been the greatest privilege of my life. To Wayne and Rachel, proof that it's never too late for a second chance. Glasses clinked. Applause rippled through the crowd. Jessica went next, wiping tears from her eyes. I've known Rachel for 8 years. Watched her fight impossible odds with nothing but determination and love. Watched her work herself to exhaustion, sacrifice everything for Sophie, convince herself she didn't need anyone. She turned to Rachel. You stubborn, beautiful woman. You finally let someone in. You finally accepted that you deserve to be loved as much as you love. And Wayne, you better treat her right, or you answer to me and everyone in this room. Laughter mixed with more applause. Maggie stood, elegant and grandmotherly. I worked for Wayne Adams for 15 years before Rachel changed him. In those years, I watched a warm, passionate man turn cold and isolated. I watched grief consume him. I thought we'd lost him forever. She smiled at Rachel. Then you appeared, not as someone new, but as someone he'd finally learned to see. You brought him back to us. And more importantly, you brought him back to himself. Emma would have adored you. She would have loved Sophie. Thank you for giving Wayne a family again. Thank you for reminding all of us what really matters. Dr. Reeves added her congratulations. In my profession, I see families destroyed by illness, but occasionally I witness miracles. Sophie is my medical miracle, the poster child for what cutting-edge treatment can achieve. But Wayne and Rachel are my personal miracle. Love that blooms from shared understanding. Partnership forged through crisis. A family created from heartbreak. You two give me hope. For my patients, for myself, for everyone who thinks their story is over. Thank you for showing us that new chapters are always possible. Finally, Sophie stood. She didn't need her wheelchair for this. She stood tall, stronger than she'd been in years, and raised her juice glass. Wayne had made sure there was sparkling cider for her. Most kids would be embarrassed by their parents getting engaged at their mom's art show, Sophie began, and laughter rippled through the crowd. But I'm not, because I helped plan this, and because 3 years ago, I had a mom who was exhausted and scared and working 3 jobs to keep me alive. Now I have a mom who's an artist and a dad who loves us and a family that's real. Her voice cracked with emotion. When I was little, I used to wish for a dad. Every birthday, every time I blew out candles, I'd wish for someone who'd stay, who'd love my mom, who'd love me. And I stopped wishing because I thought it was impossible. She looked at Wayne. Then you showed up, and you stayed. Even when it was hard, even when I was sick, even when Mom was stubborn. Sophie, Rachel protested, but she was laughing through tears. It's true, you're super stubborn, Sophie said, but Dad is patient. And together, you're perfect. So here's my toast, to my parents, to family, to second chances, to miracles, and to love that's strong enough to heal everything. There wasn't a dry eye in the gallery. Rachel stood, pulled Sophie into a tight hug, then reached for Wayne. The 3 of them stood together, a unit, a family, while their friends and loved ones celebrated around them. Later, after most guests had left, after the champagne was gone and the catering cleaned up, Rachel stood before her centerpiece painting with Wayne and Sophie. I can't believe you planned all this, she said, still staring at her ring. The proposal, the party, coordinating everyone. Sophie helped, a lot. Wayne put his arm around Rachel's shoulders. She's very good at keeping secrets, for the most part. I only told Jessica and Mrs. Chen and my art teacher, Sophie grinned. Okay, I'm bad at secrets, but I didn't tell Mom. That's what matters. Thank you, Rachel said to both of them, for seeing me, for loving me, for giving me back my dreams, and then giving me new ones I never imagined. Wayne pulled out the second box, the one with Sophie's handmade necklace. Sophie made this for you. She wanted you to have it. Rachel opened the box, saw the delicate angel wings. Fresh tears spilled over. Sophie, it's beautiful. It's because Dad always says you're an angel, even though you're really just my mom. But I guess you can be both. Sophie helped fasten the necklace around Rachel's neck. There. Now you officially have wings. Rachel touched the pendant, then pulled Sophie into another hug. I love you so much. You know that, right? I know. I love you too. And I love Dad. And I love that we're finally a real family with paperwork and everything. Paperwork, Wayne laughed. Marriage certificates, adoption papers, all the official family stuff. Sophie looked at Wayne hopefully. You are going to adopt me, right? Make it legal. Wayne's breath caught. They'd discussed it briefly, but hearing Sophie ask directly, so openly wanting to be his daughter, it overwhelmed him. If your mom agrees, And if you want it, I would be honored to officially be your father. I want it. I've wanted it since you first showed up at the hospital." Sophie took both their hands. "So when's the wedding?" "Because I have a lot of planning to do." Rachel laughed. "Maybe we should let the engagement sink in for more than 2 hours before planning the wedding." "Okay, but I'm thinking spring, April, maybe. Flowers everywhere. Both our neighborhoods invited. A mix of fancy and regular, just like you two." Sophie was already planning, and Wayne couldn't help but smile. This was family. This was home. This chaotic, beautiful, imperfect, perfect life they were building together. "April sounds perfect," Wayne agreed. "What do you think, Rachel?" Rachel looked at the man who'd seen her when she was invisible, who'd loved her daughter as his own, who'd given her back her dreams and then expanded them beyond anything she'd imagined. Looked at her daughter, healthy and happy and whole. Looked at the painting behind them that captured everything they'd survived to get here. "April is perfect. You're both perfect." She kissed Wayne, then Sophie's forehead. "Thank you for teaching me that accepting love isn't weakness, that letting people in isn't surrender, that some angels really do walk among us. They just have worn hands and quiet hearts, and sometimes they fall in love with other angels who have too much money and terrible basketball skills, but the biggest hearts imaginable." "Hey, my basketball has improved," Wayne protested. "Marginally." Rachel grinned. "But I love you anyway." They stayed in the gallery until closing, surrounded by Rachel's art, planning their future, basking in the joy of finally getting their happy ending. Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, 3 broken pieces had become one whole family, and somewhere, in whatever came after, Emma Adams was smiling. Because her father had finally learned to live again, and that was the greatest gift of all. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Leave a like and comment below what you thought of the story. See you in the next video.